Chapter 1265. And Zaheo held a long sword in his hand, the blade dripping with fresh blood. Behind him, 2 guards lay in a pool of their own blood. Brother Zaheo. The little Loli's face changed from disbelief to surprise. Her mouth twitched as tears almost rolled down her cheeks. She cried out and pounced towards Zaheo, fiercely crashing into his arms. Brother Zaheo, they want to sell me to someone else. I'm so scared, sob. Ever since arriving at the G family home, she had been suppressing her emotions. It was only when she saw Zaheo that her tears burst out. No matter how mature little Lolita was, she was still just a 6-year-old child. How could she not be afraid? And Zaheo hugged little Lolita's body tightly. He gently lowered his eyes to hide the heartache in his eyes. I've said it before, no matter where you are, I will come and find you. He slowly released little Lolita in his arms and squatted down. His resolute gaze met her tear-filled eyes. Miss, I will always be your guard. A guard's duty was to protect Mrs. Safety. So, he would never abandon her for the rest of his life. Little Lolita wiped the tears from the corners of her eyes. Her adorable face lit up with a smile. Brother Zaheo, how did you get here? Why did those 2 let you in? Miss, I'm not the only one here. Miss Yin is here too. Yin Luophone? Little Lolita was stunned. Her eyes curved into crescent moons, and her smile was as bright as the sun. I knew that she would definitely come to save me. Why? And Zaheo was stunned. How did you know? Because she taught me how to kill. Little Lolita smiled adorably. From a moment she taught me how to kill, she accepted us. And Zaheo laughed bitterly. In the end, he was the only one who was shocked by Yun Luofeng's help. But Miss had already seen through everything. Let's go, Mississippi Miss Yin is still waiting for us outside. And Zaheo held little Lolita's hand and walked out of the house. From this moment onwards, he would never let Miss come to any harm. On the streets outside the G family home, there were already many pedestrians gathered. These people were shocked by Yun Zhao's strength, and were also deeply puzzled by the fact that the other party had come to the G family to cause trouble. Yun Luofeng's sharp eyes caught sight of Zaheo and his servant walking out of the courtyard, and his expression finally relaxed. It seems that the G family did not mistreat Ji Fei. If that was the case, she was relieved. Fei. The middle-aged man's expression changed when he saw Zaheo holding the little Lolita's hand. You still want to elope with Zaheo? How can you face your parents if you do this? The little girl raised her head and looked at the middle-aged man. She said in a childish voice, I didn't elope with Brother Zaheo. Annie has wronged us. She wanted to sell me to an old man as a concubine, but I didn't agree, so she wanted to put me under house arrest. It was Big Brother Zaheo who helped me escape. The crowd was in an uproar. During this period of time, Long Chongqing and everyone else had thought that the little girl of the Ji family had eloped with a guard. Now, it seemed that there was more to it than meets the eye. What nonsense are you spouting? The beautiful woman was furious and glared at the little Loli. Little Lolita raised her head and stared fearlessly into the woman's fierce eyes. When you saw that I had escaped, you sent assassins to hunt me down. But later, because someone offered you a spiritual beast and tens of millions of silvers to buy me, you agreed. You also gave up on hunting me down and brought me back to the Ji family. Chapter 1266. The beautiful woman's body began to tremble violently. She could already see the looks of ridicule in the eyes of the crowd. Damned girl, if you continue to spout nonsense, I'll tear your mouth apart. The little Loli scoffed. Just now, you used Brother Zaheo's life to threaten me and force me to admit to this matter. If I didn't agree, you make a move on Brother Zaheo? These past few months, it was Brother Zaheo who risked his life to protect me. That's why I was able to survive. For Brother Zaheo's sake, I had no choice but to let you control me. The crowd had already begun to point fingers at the beautiful woman. The looks of ridicule and disdain were like a thorn that pierced fiercely into her heart. The little Loli gripped Zaheo's hand tightly and continued, You said that I was a freeloader in the Ji family. The Ji family had raised me for 6 years, so I should contribute to the Ji family. Ji Fei, The beautiful woman wanted to stop the little lowly. However, the little lowly could not even bear to look at her and continued to narrate her crimes. The G family was established by my parents. I'm their adopted daughter and their only daughter, yet you think that I'm just an outsider. You're the people closest to my parents. You even said that you deserve everything in the G family. I'm just a freeloader who stayed in the G family. The crowd on the street could no longer bear to watch. Voices of criticism swarmed towards the beautiful woman like a tidal wave. This madam of the G family actually dares to say such things. TSK, TSK, you really don't know a person's face. I thought that she had treated G Fei very well. Even though Ji Fei is only an adopted daughter, she was adopted by the previous head of the Ji family. According to the genealogy, she is the rightful heir to the Ji family. If Ji Fei had not been so young, the previous head of the Ji family would not have handed the family over to his own younger brother. Unfortunately, the previous head of the Ji family did not have a good eye for people. Ji Fei was wronged by the Ji family and was almost sold off. She was even labeled as a freeloader and even shamelessly claimed that the Ji family had raised Ji Fei for 6 years. TSK, TSK. Were they the ones who raised her for 6 years? That's the daughter that the former patriarch raised himself. For many years, this shameless couple lived and ate for free in the Ji family, enjoying the grace that the Ji family brought them. But their parents died less than a year ago, and they want to sell their daughter. I've seen shameless people, but only this pair are shameless to this extent. Today, I've really broadened my horizons. After saying what she wanted to say in her heart, Ji Fei felt her entire body relax. The unwillingness and anger that she had suppressed for many days was finally revealed in front of others. The beautiful woman's body went limp and she collapsed to the ground. Her forehead was covered with a layer of cold sweat, and her face was pale. Dan Min, the middle-aged man, turned to Dan Min angrily. Is what she said true? Dan Min's face grew paler and paler. Suddenly, she smiled, and it was a sinister smile. Am I wrong? She had been freeloading in the Ji family. She doesn't have the bloodline of the Ji family in her body. She's not even a member of the Ji family. The beautiful woman's hair was disheveled, and she looked like a lunatic. Her eyes emitted a dark green light. This Ji family is ours. We definitely can't give it to that little hussy, Ji Fei. Shut up. At this moment, Yun Xiao had already retracted his tail teeth. So, the middle-aged man quickly ran in front of Dan Min and fiercely slapped her across the face. Who allowed you to say such words? Fei Fei is my younger brother's only daughter. You actually dare to say that she's freeloading? Chapter 1267. Dan Min lowered her head. Her hair was a mess on her temples as her lips slowly curled into a sarcastic smile. You are the only heir to the Ji family. As the elder brother, the Ji family will be yours after your younger brother dies. Who does Ji Fei think she is? She's just an adopted daughter, not a real member of the Ji family. You. The middle-aged man trembled in anger. Of course, his thoughts were the same as Dan Min's. He believed that he should be the head of the Ji family. However, he was not stupid enough to show in front of others. He angrily scolded, "Hurry up and apologize to Fei Fei." Dan Min scoffed and turned around. Her eyes were filled with disdain. Fei Fei. When the middle-aged man saw that it was Dan Min, he quickly walked over to her and gently placed his hand on her shoulder. It's all eldest uncle's fault for making you suffer. Don't worry. Eldest uncle will avenge you and divorce this woman. Eldest uncle has always doted on you. How could I allow you to suffer? The little Lolita gently raised the corners of her lips and blinked her large eyes. If I want to take back everything that belonged to my parents, would you give it to me? The middle-aged man looked a little embarrassed. He said earnestly, Fei Fei, you're too young. It's not easy to be the head of the family. Over the past year, haven't I worked hard enough? How could I bear to see you work so hard? You should still be the eldest miss of the Ji family. I can give you a position that is second only to one and above all. The little Lolita tilted her head innocently. But I'm not afraid of being tired. Can eldest uncle return my power? This was left behind by my father. Besides, Brother Zaheo has been helping me. The middle-aged man's expression darkened. He glanced at Zaheo and said in a low voice, Fei, in this world, how can outsiders be more reliable than family? And Zaheo may have been with you for so many years, but he is still an outsider. If you ask him to help you, isn't that the same as giving him power? The little Alita smiled. Eldest uncle, during the days that I've been away, it was this outsider you speak of who used his life to protect me. Even when he went to work as a laborer, he never let me suffer from hunger. In comparison, you so-called relatives have always schemed against me, and even slapped my father's family and refused to give me anything. The middle-aged man's expression gradually became cold. Fei, stop fooling around. Let's go home first, okay? When we get back, I'll have a good chat with you. No. The little loli pushed away the middle-aged man's hand, raised her head, and said word by word, I only want Ji's family. Yin Luophone was right. A kind person would be bullied, and a kind horse would be ridden. If she wanted to never be bullied again, she had to become stronger. Fei, the middle-aged man's expression was somewhat ugly. This Ji family was handed over to me by your father. I have to be responsible for the Ji family. If I put the Ji family in your hands, what if you completely destroy the Ji family? How am I going to see your father? The little loli's eyes were stubborn. No matter what you say, this Ji family is mine. Yin Luofeng's eyes narrowed slightly as he watched the two of them clash. Yin Xiao, if anyone dares to stop Ji Fei from managing the Ji family, kill them without mercy. When he heard the words kill without mercy, the middle-aged man's body trembled violently. He gritted his teeth and looked at Yin Luophone. Aren't you meddling too much? Are you going to meddle in other people's family affairs? Chapter 1268. Yin Xiao. Yin Luophone raised his eyebrows and called out. Yin Xiao stepped forward. His cold and murderous aura rose once again and surged towards the middle-aged man. Ji Fei, how do you want to punish them? Yin Luophone turned to look at Ji Fei and asked. Ji Fei bit her lip. Big Aunt treated me like that. I won't let her live. As for Big Uncle, even though he's a bit greedy, he's never hurt me. I want to chase him out of the Ji family. Ji Fei, you've shown mercy. Yin Luophone looked at Ji Fei. He's greedy for power. Will he be satisfied after you take away the Ji family? Ji Fei lowered her head. She knew that Yin Luophone was right. If Big Uncle was not satisfied with his power being taken away, he would definitely come back for her. Yin Xiao, cripple him. Yin Luophone said slowly, I don't want to cause any more trouble. Okay. As soon as the man finished speaking, the middle-aged man didn't even have time to beg for mercy before he felt a force hit his dantian. Puffed. He spat out a mouthful of blood, took 2 steps back, and collapsed. Ji Fei's father gave you your power. I'm taking it back on his behalf. Yin Luophone glanced at the middle-aged man and slowly walked towards Ji Fei. If you don't want to kill him, for your own safety, you must cripple his power. Little Loli nodded. I understand. She had not planned to kill Big Uncle because of her father. She had forgotten that a narrow-minded person like Big Uncle would definitely seek revenge on her. Ji Fei. Yin Luophone lowered his eyes and continued. In this world, don't trust anyone besides Zaheo, even if that person is your family. Little Loli pursed her lips and stared at the young girl in front of her with misty eyes. Will you stay? No. I have to return to the academy. Yin Luophone shook his head. Wait. Just as she finished speaking, Xiaomo's small body walked over from behind. He looked at little Loli with a smile. We saved you just now. Shouldn't you repay us? Ji Fei blinked her eyes. My ability is relatively weak, and there are very few things I can do. However, as long as I can do it, I will definitely help you. Little Mo smiled mysteriously. You will definitely be able to do what I want you to do. In fact, in this world, only you can do it, Ji Family Hall. The little Loli asked everyone to leave before looking at the boy standing in front of her with a puzzled expression. Just cry. Little Mo took out a porcelain bottle from his lapel and handed it to the little girl. Little Loli was confused. She didn't understand what little Mo was trying to do. Little Mo frowned and said impatiently, I want your tears. It's not a loss for you to give me a few. Even though little Loli didn't know what little Mo wanted her to do, she still did as she was told. She blinked, and a teardrop fell from the corner of her eye into the porcelain bottle. As if recalling the grievances she had suffered over the past year, the little Loli cried louder and louder, her tears flowing down like a torrential rain. After a while, the entire porcelain bottle was filled with her tears. That's enough. Little Mo put the porcelain bottle away, and his delicate face lit up with a smile. Master, we have the ingredient. Next, we need a few other medicinal ingredients. These ingredients aren't very valuable, and the medicine shop will definitely have them. If that's the case, let's go. Chapter 1269. Yin Luofeng then turned and walked out of the great hall. Miss, you stay here, I'll send them off. And Zaheo returned to his senses and quickly chased after her. Perhaps sensing his pursuit, Yin Luofeng stopped in her tracks, turned her back to Zaheo, and said, I know you must be curious about Ji Fei's true identity, but I won't tell you. Knowing this won't do you any good. You only need to protect her for the rest of your life, and that's enough. And Zaheo was not stupid. Ji Fei's tears could be used as medicine. How could she be an ordinary child? Understand. And Zaheo did not pursue the matter any further and nodded solemnly. For the rest of my life, I, and Zaheo, will use my life to protect Mrs. Safety. Even if I die in battle for her, I will use my soul to continue to protect her. Even if I have to ascend to the heavens or descend to the underworld, nothing can stop my determination. Yin Luofeng's lips curled into a smile, and she did not say anything else. Her gaze turned toward the sky in front of her. Yin Xiao, and Mo, let's go. Yin Xiao silently followed behind Yin Luofeng. Her cold black eyes stared at the young girl's figure, and the coldness on her handsome face gradually disappeared. At this moment, Yin Luofeng, who was rushing back, was completely unaware of the storm that awaited her upon her return to the academy. In the west courtyard, Yao Shu, who was listening to his subordinate's report, was suddenly pulled back by an angry shout. He frowned, and a fierce light flashed across his eyes. Then he saw a furious Ling Hai rush in from outside the door. The guards could not stop him no matter how hard they tried. Yao Shu, get out here. Ling Hai rushed in front of Yao Shu, and without saying a word, he started to attack him. With a loud bang, Yao Shu dodged to the side, and a large hole was punched in the wall behind him by Ling Hai's fist. Ling Hai's fingers cracked as he clenched them. Yao Shu, you expelled Yin Luofeng from the academy? You even sent people to kill her? Yao Shu laughed coldly, and his face was filled with ridicule. Yin Luofeng is extremely cruel. First, she abused her own son. Then, because my disciple stopped her, she crippled my disciple's limbs. I will definitely settle this debt with her. Ling Hai laughed out loud. Yin Luofeng has a son? Are you kidding me? How could she have a son? Wasn't it because our east courtyard changed the hall master of the duty hall? So you held a grudge and made up a reason to attack Yin Luofeng? Ling Hai, if you don't believe me, you can go ask around. Who in the entire academy doesn't know that Yin Luofeng has a son? What I don't understand is, why are you so angry because of Yin Luofeng's matter? Only a few people knew about what had happened in the duty hall that day. Thus, Yao Shu did not know about the relationship between Yin Luofeng and the east courtyard. Oomph. Ling Hai coldly snorted. Yin Luofeng is my disciple. Do you think I shouldn't care about her? Let me tell you, if you want to expel Yin Luofeng from the academy, there's no way. Our east courtyard will never agree to this. Yin Luofeng is your disciple? Yao Shu narrowed his eyes, a dangerous glint flashing across his eyes. So, Yin Luofeng's actions that day were approved by the east courtyard? Bullsh asterisk T. Ling Hai directly scolded. Who wants to attack your disciple? It was obviously you who framed her. This matter, wait for the dean to return. I will definitely seek justice for Yin Luofeng. Chapter 1270. Director? The director has been gone for so many years. Do you think he will come back? Yao Shu slowly stood up, the murderous intent in his eyes intensified. Furthermore, Yin Luofeng did it, my disciple said it herself. She never lies. Ling Hai fiercely flung his sleeves. Even if it was really my disciple who did it, it must be your disciple who did something infuriating. Don't try to push the blame away. As long as I am here, no one can chase my disciple away. After saying this, Ling Hai once again glared at Yao Shu fiercely, turned around and left angrily. Staring at his departing figure, Yao Shu's eyes turned even colder. East Courtyard. Looks like Meng Qi's injury has something to do with the East Courtyard. Do you really think you can protect Yin Luofeng? What a joke. The person I want to kill will never live to see tomorrow. Wuhui Mainland. Ji family. On the luxurious carved bed, the red bed curtains fluttered in the wind, faintly revealing the alluring scene on the bed. Ji Jiuqian half reclined on the bed, his red robe half unbuttoned, revealing his fair jade-like chest. His features were exquisite, with a red between his brows, slightly raised, wild and domineering. Two beautiful maids squatted on the bed, massaging his legs. The entire room was filled with an unusual anger. "Master!" At this moment, a maid's voice came from outside the door. "Someone from the 7 continents is here." 7 continents? The man raised his eyebrows. Who? West Continent Institute, Elder Fifen. Originally, the maid thought she would be punished for disturbing the man, who knew that only the man's charming laughter could be heard from inside the room. 7 continents. Yin Luofeng has been in the 7 continents for some time. Let him in. Yes, master. Just as she finished speaking, the maid's footsteps gradually faded away. Not long after, the room door was pushed open by an old hand. Lin Fifen hurried in from outside. His eyes immediately saw the bewitching man on the bed. His eyes instantly filled with grievance. "Director, when are you going back to the school? The school cannot be left unattended. You should return with us." The man's smiling eyes were like a sharp sword that shot towards Lin Fifen. He picked up a grape by the side with his fingernails and gently squeezed it until it burst. A cold light flashed across his slightly narrowed eyes. "If the Western Continent Academy needs me to go back and take charge, then what are you elders for?" Lin Fifen's voice paused. The Western Continent Academy has been divided into 2 big sects, the East Courtyard and the West Courtyard. But before the internal troubles were settled, external troubles came. Back then, when you were still around, even the Continent Lord had to be courteous to our Western Continent Academy. Once you disappeared, the Continent Lord no longer placed our academy in his eyes. The man casually picked up another grape. This time, he did not crush it. Instead, he elegantly placed it in his mouth. "All these years, I have only managed your Western Continent Academy on behalf of my good friend. This does not mean that the Western Continent Academy can restrict me." "Dean." Lin Fifen still wanted to say something, but the man's expression gradually became impatient. "I have helped him for so many years. That's enough. Go back. There's no need to come to the Ji family to find me." Lin Fifen sighed helplessly. He took one last look at the bewitching man, then walked out with a bitter smile. "Western Continent." Ji Jiuqian gently placed a finger on his lips, his smile extremely bewitching. "I should indeed make a trip to the Western Continent, but not to the Western Continent Academy." Chapter 1271. The maid gathered her courage and asked, "Master is planning to find Miss Yin?" "That's right." Ji Jiuqian laughed maniacally. "I haven't seen that girl in a long time. I really miss her. After a while, I'll go find her." Thinking of Yin Luofeng, Ji Jiuqian's smile deepened and the corners of his lips involuntarily rose. But Ji Jiuqian frowned. "The Ji family's spatial tunnel leads to the West Continent Academy. I really don't want to see those old things. But this is the only way I can reach the 7 continents faster." West Continent Academy. At the entrance, Yin Zhao's arm was wrapped around Yin Luofeng's waist. Just as she was about to enter, she was stopped by 2 people. "Yin Luofeng, you're no longer a disciple of the West Continent Academy. You have no right to take another step into the West Continent Academy." A guard blocked in front of Yin Luofeng and said expressionlessly. The other guard saw Yin Luofeng appear and immediately turned to run back to the academy. He was going to inform Yao Shu. Yin Luofeng looked at the guard who stopped her and gently patted Yin Zhao's hand, indicating for him not to make a move. Who gave the order to chase me out of the West Continent Academy? She raised her brows and looked coldly at the guard in front of her. The guard replied coldly, "It's Elder Yao Shu's order. You injured Elder Yao Shu's disciple and still dare to return to the academy. You really don't know the immensity of heaven and earth." Yao Shu's disciple? Yin Luofeng did not understand and did not know what had happened. Yin Luofeng. Suddenly, an anxious voice sounded from the front. Yin Luofeng looked up and saw Hu Li quickly rushing out of the courtyard. Yin Luofeng, hurry and leave this place. Hu Li's expression was very anxious, and she kept looking back as if she was afraid that someone would chase after them. Yin Luofeng became even more confused. Hu Li, what exactly happened? She had only left for half a month. What exactly had happened in the academy? Yin Luofeng, Elder Yao Shu's disciple, Yao Mengqi, had her tendons cut by someone a while ago. Now she has come out and said that it was you who did it. Hurry and leave this place. It'll be too late if you don't leave now. Yin Luofeng was silent. She thought for a moment, but she still couldn't figure out who this Yao Mengqi was. Yao Mengqi? Could it be her? Little Mo exclaimed in surprise. Yin Luofeng turned to look at Little Mo. You know him? Little Mo rubbed his nose and said, "The woman who broke into our house had her tendons cut off by Yin Xiao. Furthermore, not only did she eat the food that Yin Xiao made for you, she even tried to seduce Yin Xiao. So, she reaped what she sowed. I just don't know why she said that you did all of this." Yin Luofeng subconsciously glanced at Yin Xiao, the corners of his lips curling into a smile. Isn't there a saying that love begets hate? I reckon that when Yin Xiao came to find me, she recognized Yin Xiao and transferred her hatred onto me. Perhaps she even thinks that if I die, Yin Xiao might be hers. The scenery here is not bad. However, Yin Xiao had said this out of the blue. Yin Luofeng was silent. Yin Xiao lowered his eyes and stared at her. "If you like it, I can snatch this place for you." What he meant was that he could snatch this West Continent Academy for Yin Luofeng at any time. Why would he be afraid of Yao Shu and his group? Chapter 1272. From the moment he had cut off Yao Mengqi's tendons, he had never placed the West Continent Academy in his eyes. Hu Li's mouth twitched a few times, and he said helplessly, "You guys better leave quickly. If you don't leave now, it'll be too late." Just as he finished speaking, a powerful force suddenly attacked from behind, carrying with it a monstrous rage as it launched an attack towards Yin Luofeng. Yin Zhao's body flashed, and he appeared in front of Yin Luofeng. He raised his palm gently, and without any unnecessary movements, he clenched his fist. At the same time, energy surged out from his body, and with a bang, he pushed the incoming person back. Yao Shu's expression was extremely serious as he stared coldly at Yin Xiao. "Who are you?" "The person I'm looking for is Yin Luofeng. Unrelated people, get out of my way." Yin Zhao's face was expressionless as he stared coldly at Yao Shu. His black robe fluttered without any wind, and his aura was austere. Yin Luofeng. Yao Shu's gaze moved away from Yin Xiao and landed on Yin Luofeng's face. He gritted his teeth. "It's you. You hurt my disciple. Today, since you've returned to the West Continent Academy, I'll cripple your powers and make you kneel in front of my disciple for 3 months. I'll let you have a taste of the pain she endured." Yao Shu's eyes filled with rage as he thought of his daughter who was lying on the bed. He wanted nothing more than to tear Yin Luofeng into 1,000 pieces. "Your disciple." A hoarse voice came from the side. The man's expression was as cold and emotionless as usual. "I hurt her." Boom! Yao Shu's anger surged again as he stared coldly at Yin Xiao. "That's impossible. My disciple said that the person who hurt her was Yin Luofeng. That must be Yin Luofeng. Yin Luofeng couldn't defeat my disciple, so he used this kid as bait to deceive my disciple. My disciple is kind and didn't guard against the child at all. That's why she fell into their trap." His sharp gaze swept across Xiao Mo's body as the murderous intent in his eyes intensified. Xiao Mo laughed mockingly. "Your disciple clearly tried to seduce my father and was injured by him. Yet, she blamed my mother for it. TSK, TSK. In your heart, is this kind of woman a kind person? Umph. Yao Shu snorted coldly. Don't even think of framing my disciple. My disciple has a whole bunch of suitors. It's impossible for her to seduce this man. Hu Li is also one of her pursuers. If she chooses Hu Li, why would she look for a man who already has a wife? Puff. Hu Li almost spat out his saliva. What did this have to do with him? Moreover, when did he become Yao Mengqi's pursuer? Why didn't he know? I see. Yin Luofeng narrowed his eyes and looked at Hu Li with a faint smile. So you were Yao Mengqi's pursuer? Cough, cough. Hu Li coughed twice and shrugged. It has nothing to do with me. I've never liked a woman like Yao Mengqi. Even if she came knocking on my door, I wouldn't accept her. Hu Li, seeing that someone dared to humiliate his daughter, Yao Shu flew into a rage. What did you say? Do you dare to repeat what you just said? Am I not clear enough? Even if Yao Mengqi came to me, I wouldn't like her. Hu Li might as well give up. At most, he would leave West Continent College with Yin Luofeng. He felt that following beside Yin Luofeng was better than staying in this kind of place. Moreover, West Continent College's East Dean elders were all Yin Luofeng's masters. If they could rush over, Yin Luofeng might not be in danger. Good. It seems like you don't want to mingle in West Continent College anymore. Since that's the case, from today onwards, you are no longer a disciple of our college. Yao Shu's eyes flashed coldly as he gritted his teeth. Chapter 1273. Elder Yao Shu, I'm afraid this isn't too good. When the other elders of the West Academy saw Yao Shu's action, they quickly advised, Hu Li is a disciple on the heaven list. If you expel him, our academy will lose 2 geniuses at once. So what? I said I would expel him, so he must be expelled. I won't let off anyone who insults my disciple. In this life, he owed Yao Mengqi too much, and because of his negligence, his daughter had suffered such harm. So how could he allow these people who had harmed her to get away scot-free? Didn't you say you wanted to speak up for Yin Luofeng? Then there's no need for you to stay. In any case, my Western Continent Academy doesn't lack you. Ha! A cold laugh pierced through the sky, landing in everyone's ears. I really don't know when it was your turn to make decisions in the Western Continent Academy. Su Kong and the others walked over from behind, their expressions filled with fury. Only when they saw that Yin Luofeng was safe and sound did they sigh in relief. Shuang bitterly smiled. She had originally thought that after taking in a female disciple, she would have much more leisure time. Who would have thought that Yin Luofeng would cause more trouble than anyone else? In the time she had taken her in, she had caused quite a bit of commotion in the academy. But so what? Who told her to be their disciple? Could it be that she had to just watch as these bastards bullied her? You really want to stop me from getting revenge for my disciple? Yao Shu's eyes sank. This Yin Luofeng has committed a monstrous crime. First, he abused his own son, and then he harmed Meng Qi, who wanted to protect the weak. He even framed Meng Qi for stealing. How can I endure this? In any case, no matter who comes today, Yin Luofeng must die. Yao Shu's aura once more exploded out, surging into the sky. Under this heavy aura, some of the guards couldn't even breathe. Shuang quickly walked over to Yin Luofeng, a warm smile on her face. Feng don't be afraid. Our masters will protect you. Tell us what exactly happened, and we'll definitely get justice for you. Yin Luofeng did not speak, but little Mo could not help but speak up. It was Yao Mengqi who wanted to seduce my father. She was also injured by my father, and my parents did not beat me up. It was she who took a fancy to my father and took the opportunity to strike up a conversation, who knew that my father would ignore her. So she took the opportunity to sneak into my house. With just a few words, he had explained everything clearly. Surprise flashed across Shui Ying's eyes. What surprised her was that Yin Luofeng really had a son. What followed was a bellyful of anger. His cold eyes turned towards Yao Shu. Your disciple is so daring that he even dares to seduce my disciple's husband? Does she really lack men that much? If she's really a man, there are so many students in the academy who would definitely be willing to have sex with her. Usually, Shui Ying was very gentle, and even Su Kong and the others rarely saw her angry. But now, she was clearly unable to control her anger, and her words were very poisonous. Shuang, Yao Shu raged. You humiliated Meng Qi. Shui Ying sneered. It was she who did such a shameless thing. How can you blame others for humiliating her? Ha ha! Yao Shu was so angry that he started laughing. Good elder of the East institution. It seems that you really want to protect Yin Luofeng to the end. If that's the case, then we can only decide victory or defeat in one battle. The West institution and the East institution had fought openly and secretly for so many years, but they had never shed all pretense of cordiality. But now, for Yin Luofeng, the elders of the two institutions stood on opposite sides. Chapter 1274. It would be a lie to say that he wasn't touched. Yin Luofeng had his own goals when he first came to the academy. He didn't really treat them as his masters. But these elders had always treated him as a disciple. A warm current flowed through his heart. Yin Luofeng's lips curled into a devilish smile, and his black eyes glowed. Yin Xiao, if my masters can't beat Yao Shu and the others, then you don't have to care so much. Okay. Yin Xiao hugged Yin Luofeng's body gently and looked at Yao Shu and the others coldly. The entire entrance of the academy instantly became tense. All the disciples of the academy hid far away, deeply afraid that the battle between the two sides would affect them. Billy walked in front of Yin Luofeng and smiled. I didn't think that Yao Mengqi's injury was really because of you guys. Yin Luofeng glanced at him. Your heart aches? Immediately, Huli fell silent. He looked at Yin Luofeng resentfully. I have nothing to do with Yao Mengqi. Why should I feel sorry for her? On the contrary, she thinks that I like her and keeps pestering me. I've explained it many times, but she still thinks that I love her deeply. Huli was helpless. Suddenly, he thought of something and couldn't help but laugh. All right, I heard from Yao Mengqi not long ago that she saw a man abusing his child. I didn't expect that she was talking about your husband. Yin Luofeng raised his eyebrows and gestured for him to continue. Yao Mengqi said that this child is very pitiful and your husband is also pitiful. On the contrary, you abandoned your husband and child for an evil woman. Unforgivable. It's because you abandoned your husband that he became so cold and heartless. That's why your child was abused like this. TSK. I really don't know how she saw this. Yin Zhao's dark eyes stared at Yin Luofeng. You can't abandon your husband and child. He thought about it and added, I've already become yours. You can't pull up your pants and deny it. Ever since the old man said that he would not recognize anyone if he pulled up his pants, Yin Xiao often said this. She smiled helplessly. After a while, we'll go back and get married. Okay. A smile gradually surfaced in Yin Zhao's eyes. Feng, I'll let you marry in style. A grand wedding? In Yin Luofeng's mind, the scene of Yin Xiao delivering the betrothal gift surfaced. Just the proposal alone was already so sensational. Just how glorious would the grand marriage that Yin Xiao spoke of be? Just as the two of them were stuck together like glue, Yao Shu had already taken the initiative to attack Su Kong and the others. Once they reached this level, it would be very difficult for others to intervene in the battle. Therefore, the Academy's disciples could only see a few figures fighting in the void, but they were unable to determine their strength. Is this the power of an Academy elder? He was so powerful that no one could match him. Boom, boom, boom. In the void, countless streams of energy spread out, causing the entire sky to turn gray. It was as if a layer of dust had covered the originally azure sky. Elder. Just as the two sides were locked in a fierce battle, a panicked voice rushed over. I sensed a power coming from the wormhole in the Academy. If I'm not wrong, someone must have come through the wormhole. What? In the void, the two sides separated. They looked at each other with shock in their eyes. Chapter 1275. Someone came through the wormhole? Could it be? It's the Dean. It must be the Dean. Shuang was overjoyed. I met the Dean about 10 years ago. I haven't seen him for 10 years. I didn't expect the Dean to come back at this time. Su Kong and the others were also surprised, forgetting about the battle just now. Yao Shu, since the Dean is back, let's seek justice from the Dean. Su Kong looked at Yao Shu, and his lips curled into a cold smile. Yao Shu laughed, and his eyes were filled with anger. Even if the dean is back, he will definitely stand on my side. After all, my disciple was crippled by Yun Luofeng. Don't tell me that I don't even have the right to seek justice. You just listen to your disciple's side of the story, and you think that my disciple was in the wrong first. Shui Ying said coldly. The dean will naturally seek justice for this matter. Let's go and partner now. After saying this, she walked to Yun Luofeng's side and said, Fonger, don't be afraid. The dean will definitely seek justice for us. Yun Luofeng smiled evilly. Yin Xiao, let's go and join the fun. At the same time, let's see what kind of person the dean is. The West Continent Academy's wormhole was located at the back of the mountain. Other than the elders, no one else had the right to enter the back of the mountain. At this moment, at the entrance of a cave in the back of the mountain, the elders looked nervous as they stared unblinkingly at the entrance of the cave. In an instant, a ray of light flashed, and a coquettish man slowly walked out of the cave. His red clothes were brighter than blood, and he was peerless. It seems that I have been discovered. The man's red lips curled into a smile. His clothes were always half open, and he was coquettish and flirtatious. Greetings, Dean. All the elders knelt down and greeted him respectfully. The man held the back of his head with both hands and narrowed his eyes. His gaze swept across the crowd, and in the next moment, he found Yun Luofeng standing behind the crowd. Yun Luofeng was stunned. Ji Jiuqian was the dean of the West Continent Academy? Was this world so small? She actually bumped into him here? Yun Xiao felt the change in the girl next to him and held her hand tightly. He looked at Ji Jiuqian coldly and became slightly vigilant. Dean! Yao Shu stood up from the ground and cried, You have to help me. My disciple was injured and her hands and feet were broken, but these people from the East Courtyard still want to protect her. This is really infuriating. Ji Jiuqian withdrew his gaze from Yun Luofeng and raised his eyebrows at the elders. I want to know what exactly happened. Principal, Shui Ying glared fiercely at Yao Shu. It was Yao Shu's disciple who tried to seduce my disciple's man. That's why I took revenge. Hee hee. Yao Shu sneered and said mockingly, My disciple needs to seduce men? Especially when the other party was someone else's man? This woman can't compare to my disciple in any way, and now she wants to frame her. His gaze was directed at Yun Luofeng. Ji Jiuqian looked at Yun Luofeng again, and the corners of his lips curled up into a meaningful smile. You said that the person who crippled your disciple was Yun Luofeng? Yao Shu did not react for a moment and replied, That's right. It was Yun Luofeng. She abused her own son, and my disciple saw it. So she crippled my disciple. Principal, you. Chapter 1276. Suddenly, Yao Shu reacted and stared at Ji Jiuqian with widened eyes. Dean, you. How did you know her name is Yun Luofeng? Ji Jiuqian smiled. Her smile was as wild and domineering as usual. Unfortunately, this girl is my friend. Friend? Yao Shu widened his eyes in shock and stared at Ji Jiuqian in disbelief. At this moment, he even suspected that there was something wrong with his ears. Did the dean just say Yun Luofeng was his friend? Yao Shu's face paled at this moment. He took 2 steps back and stumbled before falling to the ground. Despair filled his heart. Ji Jiuqian slowly walked towards Yao Shu. Based on my understanding of Yun Luofeng, she would never provoke anyone. On the contrary, there are often blind people who provoke her. If it wasn't for your daughter angering her, she wouldn't have crippled her. Also, Ji Jiuqian paused. His smile was sinister. You said that Yun Luofeng can't compare to your disciple, which means that there's something wrong with my judgment, right? Yao Shu's lips trembled slightly. He laughed dryly. Dean, this is a misunderstanding. Everything is a misunderstanding. Misunderstanding? Ji Jiuqian laughed wildly. Then why didn't you say it was a misunderstanding before? When I said that Yun Luofeng was my friend, you said it was a misunderstanding. It seems that in the 10 years that I left, West Continent Academy was indeed not as good as before. Su Kong and the others looked at each other. They never thought that Yun Luofeng would be the dean's disciple. This matter was too unexpected, and it shook everyone's hearts. Yun Luofeng. Huli looked at Yun Luofeng resentfully. Why didn't you say so earlier that you knew the dean? Yun Luofeng narrowed his eyes. I didn't know that other than being the ancestor of the Ji family, this guy was also the dean of West Continent Academy. What other identities does he have? I'm interested. Hearing this, Yin Xiao quickly turned Yun Luofeng's head around so that she could look at her. She said jealously, "It's enough that you're interested in me. You don't need to be interested in him." Dean. Ling Hai looked at Yao Shu. Whenever he thought about how Yao Shu wanted to make a move on his disciple, the anger in his heart would surge. How should we punish Yao Shu for his actions? Ji Jiuqin glanced at Yao Shu. Send him to the criminal court for punishment. Also, throw his disciple over as well. Every force had their own rules. That was the reason why the criminal division existed. Ji Jiuqin was not a kind person to begin with. How could the punishment he set be easy? Therefore, the moment Yao Shu is sent to the Hall of Crime, his life will be worse than death. Yao Shu knew this as well. His legs turned to jelly, and he collapsed to the ground. His expression changed from one of high spirits to one of despair. Ji Jiuqin walked toward Yun Luofeng. A smile appeared on his beautiful face, and a ray of light flashed in his long and narrow eyes. Long time no see. His lips curled into a light smile. After greeting them, he turned his gaze towards Yun Xiao. Of these two men, one was cold and expressionless, while the other was flirtatious and elegant. A light breeze lifted their robes. The two of them stood side by side, but they were not inferior to each other. Ji Jiuqin. Ji Jiuqin slowly said his name. Yun Luofeng's man. This was Yun Zhao's self-introduction. He did not say his name. Instead, he said that he was Yun Luofeng's man. Chapter 1277. You're very strong. Ji Jiuqin smiled. His smile was wild, and his eyes were filled with arrogance, as if he did not care about the world. I wonder if I can fight with you. All right. Yun Xiao slowly released the young girl in his arms and shot a cold and grim gaze towards Ji Jiuqin as he spoke expressionlessly. Yun Xiao. Yun Luofeng tugged on Yun Zhao's sleeve and frowned. I don't know what level Ji Jiuqin is at. As if afraid that Yun Luofeng would worry, Yun Zhao's eyes softened. He patted her hand and said, "Wait for me." Yun Luofeng gently let go of him. She stared at the man's handsome and cold face, and her lips curled into a smile. All right, I'll wait for you. She believed in Yun Xiao. Since Yun Xiao had promised Ji Jiuqin, he had the strength to fight. Yun Xiao kissed Yun Luofeng's forehead and said softly, I'll be back soon. He raised his head and looked at Ji Jiuqin. His expression turned cold once again. Let's go. Ji Jiuqin laughed wildly. I'd like to experience the Ghost Emperor's power. Ghost Emperor? When the elders who had yet to leave heard Ji Jiuqin's words, all their gazes instantly landed on Yun Zhao's face. The headmaster had called him the Ghost Emperor. Could this man be the legendary Ghost Emperor who had destroyed the limitless sect on his own? Yao Shu fainted from the shock. He could have offended anyone but the Ghost Emperor. Based on the Ghost Emperor's power, even if all the elders attacked him at the same time, they might not be his match. At that moment, Yao Shu finally understood why this man had dared to attack Meng Qi. He had the ability to look down on the West Continent College. The funny thing was, it was too late for regrets. Yao Mengqi lay on the bed, waiting for Yao Shu's good news. But in the end, a group of guards tied her up and dragged her to the penal court. What do you want? How dare you attack me? My master won't let you off. When the guard heard this, he sneered coldly. You mean Elder Yao Shu? Oh no, he's no longer an elder. He can't even protect himself. How could he care about you? Unable to protect himself? Yao Mengqi shuddered, her face filled with terror. How could this be? How could father be unable to protect himself? Didn't he go find Yun Luofeng to vent his anger on him? Could it be that the elders of the East Courtyard stopped him? Don't try to scare me. I know that the people in charge of the criminal division are for the East Courtyard. Those old guys from the East Courtyard have always been on the opposite side of my master. It must be the people from the East Courtyard who want to take revenge on my master. That's why they ordered you to catch me. You'd better let me go, Otherwise, my master will not let you go. Shut up. The guard felt that Yao Mengqi was too noisy, so he took off his socks and stuffed them into her mouth. A wave of foot odor assaulted Yao Mengqi's nostrils, almost causing her to faint. Two streams of tears hung from the corners of her eyes as she let out a whimper. No matter how much Yao Mengqi struggled, she was eventually thrown into the criminal court. Mengqi. Yao Shu's heart broke when he saw Yao Mengqi thrown in. He scrambled over to Yao Mengqi, took the stinky sock out of her mouth, and threw it to the side. Father! Yao Mengqi threw herself into Yao Shu's arms, crying herself hoarse. Just now, those two guards were so rough with me. Father, you must take revenge for me. Tear them to pieces. Chapter 1278. Yao Shu's expression changed. He raised his hand to touch Yao Mengqi's back, but found that he did not know where to start. Yao Mengqi did not notice Yao Shu's strange behavior. She was still angrily complaining about the two guards, and even told Yao Shu to cut them into pieces. Mengqi. Yao Shu sighed and smiled bitterly. This time, I'm afraid I can't help you. Father? Yao Mengqi raised her teary eyes and looked at Yao Shu in confusion. Father, what do you mean? What do you mean by I can't help him? Your father's meaning is very simple. He can't even protect himself. How can he help you? It was unknown when Ling Hai had appeared in the criminal hall. He crossed his arms in front of his chest and looked at the father and daughter who were hugging each other with disdain. You're talking nonsense. Yao Mengqi glared at Ling Hai. My father is an elder like you. What right do you have to punish him? Ling Hai smiled coldly. You probably don't know, but the dean has returned. Furthermore, he personally sent your father to the criminal court. What? Yao Mengqi was stunned. Her eyes were filled with disbelief as she looked down at Yao Shu. Father, he's lying to me, right? You're an elder of the school. Why did the dean send you to the criminal court to be punished? Yao Shu lowered his head. He did not dare to look at Yao Mengqi's bright eyes, afraid that he would break down. Yao Mengqi, you still dare to ask why he was punished? Isn't this all your fault? Ling Hai's eyes were sharp. You framed Yin Luofeng and caused your father to be punished. Yao Mengqi's body trembled. Her eyes flashed. What did you say? When did I frame her? Don't make things up. You took a liking to Yin Luofeng's husband and framed her so that your father would stand up for you. But you didn't know that our dean and Yin Luofeng were old friends. Because of this, he sent your father to the criminal court to be punished. The dean and Yin Luofeng were old friends? Yao Mengqi bit her lips tightly as her body trembled violently. Impossible. She didn't believe any of this. Absolutely not. Also, Ling Hai paused for a moment, then continued. The man you like is the Ghost Emperor who has recently caused a huge commotion in the Western continent. Boom. This last piece of news once again blew up Yao Mengqi's mind. Her mind was a complete mess, and she was completely unable to walk out from this kind of shock. That cold-faced man was the rumored Ghost Emperor. It was said that the Ghost Emperor wore a mask all year round, so no one knew what he looked like. Even he had guessed that the Ghost Emperor was so ugly that he didn't dare to show his face, which was why he used a mask. However, she never expected that the legendary Ghost Emperor would be so handsome. Yao Mengqi bit her lips tighter and tighter, blood dripping from her lips. She wanted to digest this information in her heart, but her mind was filled with the man's incomparably handsome face. Ling Hai, I will definitely take revenge on you for injuring me today. Furthermore, there are so many people on the Western continent who want to kill the Ghost Emperor. If I were to spread word of this, the Western Continent Academy would also be implicated. At that time, you will probably suffer the wrath of all the strong cultivators in the mainland. Yao Shu's eyes were fierce. His voice carried a hint of threat. Of course, if you let me go, I might keep this matter to myself forever. Chapter 1279. Ling Hai sneered. The dean has given his orders. Once you enter the criminal court, there is no need for you to leave. Tell me, how are you going to spread this news? Moreover, if I let you leave, I'm afraid the academy will truly be in danger. Boom! This news caused Yao Shu's body to tremble. He suddenly got up from the ground and charged at Ling Hai like a madman. I don't believe it. I don't believe that the dean would be so cruel. I have served the school for so many years. No, I want to see the dean. Let me see the dean. Get lost. Ling Hai roared in anger and violently pushed Yao Shu's body with his palm. He patted his clothes and sneered. Yao Shu, you and your daughter reap what you sow. If you hadn't targeted my disciple first, you wouldn't have ended up like this. Court Master Jean, the dean has ordered that these two cannot be left alive. With that, Ling Hai waved his sleeves, turned around, and left. Father. Yao Mengqi looked hopelessly at Yao Shu, tears streaming down her cheeks. You must have a way to save me. I don't want to die. Yao Shu laughed bitterly. He couldn't even protect himself. How could he save Yao Mengqi? Mengqi, it was father who harmed you and father who couldn't protect you. I have offended the dean. Only death awaits me. Hearing Yao Shu's words, Yao Mengqi's face filled with despair. At this moment, she finally understood the meaning of regret. After Yin Luofeng left the school, she asked Hu Li to buy her medicinal ingredients. Fortunately, the Western continent had an abundance of medicinal ingredients. In a short while, Hu Li had brought the ingredients she needed. Once she had the ingredients, she went to the kitchen to brew the medicine. She then poured the little Loli's tears in the medicine pot. In an instant, a fragrant scent wafted into her nose, making her feel refreshed. Master, after you finish this bowl of medicine, your hand will recover. Little Mo stood beside Yin Luofeng and blinked her eyes as she spoke. Without hesitation, Yin Luofeng poured the medicine into the bowl and drank it in one gulp. As the medicine entered her body, she tried moving her right hand. Her originally immobile right hand could finally move freely. Her hand had completely recovered. I haven't exercised my right hand for a long time, so it's a little stiff. Little Mo, I'm going to practice. Remember to call me when Yun Xiao comes back. All right, little Mo nodded. I will inform you when Yun Xiao returns. Hearing this, Yin Luofeng walked into the backyard without saying anything. However, Yin Xiao only returned when night fell. When Yin Luofeng saw Yun Xiao, he asked, How is it? Who won between you and Ji Juqian? In the face of Yin Luofeng's question, Yun Xiao replied, Honestly, it was a draw. A draw? Is Ji Juqian so powerful? Yin Luofeng narrowed his eyes as a glint flashed across his eyes. Master, Ji Juqian is an old demon who has lived for so many years. How can he not be strong? Little Mo appeared out of nowhere and curled his lips. His childish face was filled with speechlessness. That was true. Compared to Yin Xiao, Ji Juqian had already lived for far too long. Otherwise, the Ji family would not have treated him as their ancestor, and he would not have become the academy's principal. Master, when you see Ji Juqian tomorrow, don't forget to ask for the fruit of the soul. Little Mo's eyes darted around. Yun Luofeng came to the West Continent Academy for the fruit of the soul. Now that he had a relationship with Ji Juqian, how could he not make use of it? Fruit of the soul? Yin Xiao was silent for a moment before he took out a red fruit from his lapel. Are you talking about this? Chapter 1280. That's right, this is the fruit of the soul. Yun Luofeng took the scarlet fruit from Yun Xiao and asked in confusion, Why do you have the fruit of the soul? Ji Juqian threw it to me before he left. Although Yun Xiao regarded Ji Juqian as a rival in love, he would not hide what he had done. Hence, he told Yun Luofeng the truth. Hearing this, Yun Luofeng's heart clenched. She put the fruit of the soul away, and a smile appeared on her beautiful face. I will thank him properly the next time I see him. Yun Zhao's gaze fell on the young girl. You came to the West Continent Academy for the fruit of the soul. Yun Luofeng nodded. Xiao Bai is injured. She needs the fruit of the soul to recover. Then why didn't you tell me? Yin Xiao took 2 steps closer to Yun Luofeng. As long as you say the word, I can snatch as many fruits of the soul as you want. Yin Luofeng shook her head. Yin Xiao, the elders of the East Academy have treated me well and have given their all for me. I don't intend to fall out with them, so I didn't tell you anything. Just as she finished speaking, the man's arm suddenly reached out and pulled her into his embrace. He kissed the young girl's lips fiercely. Don't look. Xiao Mo hurriedly covered her eyes. Master, Yin Xiao, you can kiss slowly. I won't disturb you. A cunning glint flashed across his eyes. He quickly walked out of the room and closed the door. Yin Luofeng was out of breath from Yin Zhao's kiss. After a long while, the man finally moved his lips away. She also took this opportunity to take a few deep breaths. Feng. Yin Zhao's finger gently stroked the young girl's lips. In the future, don't hide anything from me. Meeting the man's deep black eyes, Yin Luofeng nodded gently. All right. No matter what you want, I can take it for you. Yin Zhao lowered his head and said with a determined expression, even if you want the entire world. As long as Yin Luofeng asked, so what if he took the entire world? If he could exchange it with a smile from her, the world was nothing. Yin Luofeng narrowed her eyes. She took 2 steps forward and pressed Yin Zhao's body tightly against the wall. She raised her head and kissed the man's lips forcefully. Yin Zhao, tonight, I'll be on top. Outside the courtyard, the night breeze blew gently. The man in red stood on the branch, his gaze fixed on the brightly lit courtyard. His long and narrow eyes flashed with an almost undetectable light. Master! 2 beautiful maids landed behind the red-robed man and said respectfully, Yao Shu and his daughter have been dealt with. The red-robed man's voice was domineering and arrogant. A rose-like smile blossomed on his bewitching face. His smile was beautiful, but it was also sharp and unapproachable. Reporting to Master, Yao Shu wanted to escape with Yao Mingqi. This subordinate has already killed him. The maid lowered her head and respectfully replied, All right, let's go. After disappearing for 10 years, I should let those people in the Western continent know that I'm still alive. Ji Jiuqian flicked his sleeves and turned around. His red robes were like the scorching sun, exceptionally eye-catching in the dark night. The maids did not even dare to lift their heads. However, from the corner of their eyes, they could see the bruises on that beautiful face. Master was injured? The Ghost Emperor's power had already grown to such an extent that even their master had been injured by him. Chapter 1281. Western Continent. Inside the Continent Lord's Mansion, a middle-aged man with a dignified expression sat upright on a chair at the head of the table. Below him were the leaders of the various powers, and 2 beautiful maids were behind the middle-aged man, lightly hammering his shoulders as they bowed and groveled. Continent Lord, this Western Continent Academy is looking down on us too much. We've sent people to look for them a few times, asking them to join our ranks, but they've always rejected us. That's right, the Western Continent Academy is too arrogant, completely looking down on everyone. Do they think that Ji Jiuqian is still in the academy? Without Ji Jiuqian, how can the Western Continent Academy be so arrogant? Everyone looked at each other, denouncing the Western Continent Academy. In their eyes, Ji Jiuqian had already disappeared for more than 10 years, which meant that he had given up on the Western Continent Academy. The current Western Continent Academy had long since fallen to the middle of the river and was no different from them. If that was the case, what qualifications did the Western Continent Academy have to be arrogant? The middle-aged man slightly lowered his brows. It was obvious that he was very dissatisfied with the actions of the Western Continent Academy. A ruthless light flashed past his eyes, and he said coldly, If the Western Continent Academy does not join us to encircle and annihilate the Ghost Emperor, then there is no need for the Western Continent Academy to exist. Continent Lord is wise. Everyone was overjoyed. They had long since disliked the Western Continent Academy. They really didn't know where these people got their arrogance from to dare to look down on them. Now, with a single sentence from the Continent Lord, it meant that the Western Continent Academy, it would disappear in the long flow of history. Continent Lord, I suggest that we bring our troops to attack the Western Continent Academy now. An old man stood up and said angrily, It's good to let the people of the Western Continent understand how foolish it is to disobey the orders of the Continent Lord's Mansion. The Continent Lord's Mansion was the highest authority in the entire continent. The 7 continents had 7 countries, and the one who ruled over these 7 countries was the Continent Lord's Mansion. It was no different from the dynasties of the other continents. Let's go. It was unknown who waved his hand, but the others also stood up. Their voices of condemnation spread throughout the night sky of the entire Western Continent Prefecture. Everyone raised their fists, wishing that they could annihilate the Western Continent Academy and the Ghost Emperor at the same time. At that moment, a chuckle pierced through the air and reverberated in everyone's ears like thunder. Who? The Continent Lord's face suddenly darkened. His sharp gaze shot forward, and a murderous intent spread from his eyes. Under the night sky, the red robe was like blood, as if it had dyed the entire night red. The man was like an extremely seductive flower, beautiful yet dangerous, full of sharpness. After seeing the domineering face of the man, the expressions of the people from the Continent Lord's mansion changed from anger to shock and finally turned pale. I've only disappeared for 10 years, but you're already looking down on me? It seems like you want to taste the price of blood from more than 10 years ago again. The night breeze blew, lifting the man's blood-red robe. His eyes were smiling, and the corners of his lips curled up into an arrogant and unruly smile. If it was said that Yun Shao was a god of death, then he was undoubtedly a devil god. Even if it was just a smile, it would send chills down one's spine, leaving one so nervous that one would find it hard to breathe. You? Why are you back? The Continent Lord's lips trembled. He looked at the domineering man, standing under the night sky like a red rose in fear. Involuntarily, a chill rose in his heart, and his body gradually trembled. Chapter 1282. More than 10 years ago, they had tried to kill Ji Jiuqian, just like how they had surrounded the Ghost Emperor today. They would never forget that day when blood dyed the entire Western continent red. Corpses were everywhere, and countless ghostly wails and wolf howls resounded in the Western continent for half a month. It could be seen how many vengeful souls had died in his hands. That day, the setting sun was as red as blood, and the man's red clothes were very bright. He was like a god of death that had walked out of hell. The sword in his hand was like a scythe that harvested lives, easily taking away a bright red life. Originally, the Western continent's forces were not as backward as they were now. Back then, the Western continent was one of the best among the 7 continents. It was because of that battle that the former continent lord had died at the hands of this man. Countless experts had been annihilated, causing the current Western continent to fall behind to such an extent. Everything was caused by this man. Ji Jiuqian's domineering eyes gradually swept towards the continent lord. The smile on his beautiful face was filled with contempt. His eyes were as if he was looking at an ant, disdainful. Compared to the previous continent lord, you are really far inferior. At least when he saw me, his legs wouldn't tremble, and he wouldn't even be able to sit steadily. Gulp! The continent lord swallowed hard and said with a trembling voice, Ji Jiuqian, I remember that more than 10 years ago, you were also injured quite badly. It seems that even now, your strength has not recovered to its peak. Even if my legs and hand were crippled, it would still be easy for me to take your lives. What was insolence? Everyone present had experienced this word from this man. But who gave him the right to be arrogant? Regardless of whether Ji Jiuqian's strength had recovered or not, they did not dare to take this risk. The scene from more than 10 years ago had brought too much shock to their hearts. So much so that even now, it still made them feel fear. Not to mention fighting, they did not even dare to look at Ji Jiuqian. I came here today to tell you, don't think that just because I disappeared for 10 years, you can do whatever you want of the Western Continent Academy. The man slightly raised his eyebrows, his tone arrogant and domineering, incomparably insolent. Even if I don't like this Western Continent Academy, it is still left behind by my old friend. I have the right to let it exist forever. No one could say that a force could exist forever in this world. On this continent, if one was not careful, a force could be destroyed. However, no one dared to refute Ji Jiuqian. With Ji Jiuqian's power, the power he wanted to protect would definitely exist forever. Also, Ji Jiuqian laughed maniacally. The Ghost Emperor is not someone you can provoke. I advise you not to provoke him. The Continent Lord's face turned even paler. Ji Jiuqian, we can promise not to act against the West Continent Academy. But aren't you meddling too much? Our encirclement and annihilation of the Ghost Emperor is our business. It has nothing to do with you. This sentence, he said it very strongly, but his trembling legs had already revealed the fear in his heart. His long and narrow eyes fell on the continent lord, and the smile on Ji Jiutian's lips carried a trace of coldness. It is indeed your business to encircle and kill the Ghost Emperor, but if you hurt the little girl by his side, then I will have to interfere. In the Wuhui mainland, he did not care about Yin Luo Feng's matters. He did not even provide her with any help. Chapter 1283. That was because he knew very well that the clowns of the Wuhui continent could not touch her. The 7 continents, on the other hand, were different. Before Yin Luo Feng grew up, he had the obligation to sweep away all troubles for her. The continent lord's eyes widened in shock. He did not understand what Ji Jiutian meant. Ji Jiutian swept a cold glance at the continent lord. His domineering gaze contained a cold glint and murderous intent. If I find out that you dare to have any designs on the Ghost Emperor again, I will clean up the Western continent. The man's arrogant and unruly voice exploded in the continent lord's mansion. Even when the man in the blood-red robe turned around and left, the people of the continent lord's mansion had not regained their senses. After a long while, someone asked, "Continent lord, what should we do next? What should we do?" The continent lord laughed bitterly. "What can we do? Are you going to offend Ji Jiutian? That fellow is a madman who kills without blinking an eye." Continent lord, an old man's eyes flickered and said, "Ji Jiutian is so powerful, and he is not used by the Western continent. It's such a pity. Why don't we choose a woman to seduce him? All heroes have a weakness for the charms of beauties. As long as a woman can win his favor, he will definitely listen to our orders from then on." The continent lord laughed coldly. "Have you forgotten how the war started more than 10 years ago? The daughter of the previous continent lord fell in love with Ji Jiutian at first sight. The previous continent lord doted on his daughter and thought of ways to let his daughter get close to Ji Jiutian. However, just as she expressed her love, she was thrown out by Ji Jiutian. She relied on the power of the continent lord's mansion to force Ji Jiutian. As a result, she completely angered that madman. What happened next was basically public knowledge. In a fit of rage, Ji Jiutian crippled the eldest daughter of the continent lord's mansion. This incurred the wrath of the experts of the Western continent, and they began to hunt Ji Jiutian down. There were more than 10,000 experts in the Western continent. Each of them was extremely powerful. However, that madman had carved out a bloody path in front of so many people. Trying to use a woman to lure a madman? As soon as you reveal your thoughts, you'll immediately become a dead soul under my blade. Therefore, this kind of thinking is useless to Ji Jiutian." The continent lord narrowed his eyes. Back then, the daughter of the previous continent lord, who was publicly acknowledged as the #1 beauty in the Western continent, was not attractive to him at all. What kind of beauty do you think can attract his attention? Suddenly, a young man in the crowd spoke up. Just now, Ji Jiutian said that he helped the Ghost Emperor not because of the Ghost Emperor, but because of the woman by his side. If this woman is not by the Ghost Emperor's side, can we encircle and annihilate the Ghost Emperor? At this moment, the young man seemed to have forgotten what Ji Jiutian had said earlier. The Ghost Arch was not someone they could provoke. It was precisely because they had neglected this sentence that the tragedy from 10 years ago had happened again in the Western continent. That's a good idea. The continent lord's eyes flickered. Ji Jiutian is already very terrifying in the Western continent. We can't have another Ghost Emperor. Therefore, we have to kill the Ghost Emperor before he matures. Otherwise, how would he be the continent lord of the Western continent in the future? This continent lord will find someone to handle this matter. You guys can leave first. Also, no one is allowed to leak any information about today's meeting. If this continent lord finds out that someone has spread the news, this continent lord will hunt you down even if you are 1,000 miles away. I won't rest until you are dead." A murderous intent flashed across the continent lord's eyes. An awe-inspiring aura spread out from his body and was filled with killing intent. Chapter 1284. The Divine Grimoire Space. Just as Yin Luofeng appeared in the middle of the field, Xiao Mo spotted her and surrounded her with the other gold-seeking mice. "Master," he called out obediently. His voice was so soft and adorable that it could melt anyone's heart. "Have you fed her the fruit of the spirit?" Yin Luofeng glanced at Lin Ruobai, who was lying flat on the flowers, and asked. Xiao Mo nodded. "This is the second fruit of the spirit. Now, there's only one left. As long as she consumes 3 fruits of the spirit, her soul will gradually recover." "One more?" Yin Luofeng gently stroked her chin as a light flashed in her eyes. It looked like it was time for her to leave the West Continent Academy and search for the 3rd fruit of the spirit. "Master, congratulations on your right hand. It's finally back to normal." Xiao Mo's face lit up with a brilliant smile. Her eyes were like the stars in the night sky, flashing with a bright light. Perhaps there was nothing that made her happier than seeing Yin Luofeng's right hand recover. "By the way, Master, when will you get more medicinal herbs? These herbs are not enough for the gold-seeking mice." Xiao Mo felt wronged, and her eyes were full of resentment. "Besides, the little tree needs medicinal herbs to grow. The more medicinal herbs there are, the faster it will grow. The spiritual herbs are not enough for them now." Yin Luofeng gently narrowed her eyes and swept them across the field under the blue sky. "Wait until I find the 3rd fruit of the spirit. I'll come back and settle the matter here. Yin Xiao is still waiting for me outside. I'll be leaving first." Just as he finished speaking, a white light flashed, and Yin Luofeng's figure disappeared. On the bed, the young girl had just opened her eyes when she met a pair of deep and serene eyes. At that moment, her soul seemed to be drawn into those eyes, and she could not look away. "Yin Xiao, you're awake?" Yin Xiao hugged the young girl's body tightly from the side. His handsome and cold face lit up with a small smile. Even though his smile was very shallow, it was enough to deeply attract Yin Luofeng. She looked at the man before her and realized that she could not get enough of him, especially his exquisite figure. She could not help but touch it forcefully. "If you want to touch, you can touch as much as you want." The man's voice was low and hoarse, ringing in her ear like a curse. Once upon a time, this man was so adorable that he didn't even know what warming the bed meant. But the current Yin Xiao had already grown into a real man. "Yin Xiao, tell me more about the forces in the 7 continents." Yin Luofeng knew that now was not the time to tease this man. She stretched lazily and rested her head on her hands. Her evil eyes stared at the man beside her with a smile. The man glanced at her. "The 7 continents are divided into a few big continents. These big continents are the West Continent, East Continent, North Continent, South Continent, Central Continent, Ling Continent, and Beast Continent." Yin Luofeng was silent. Shen Yuqing had told her about these continents before. Among them, the Western Continent's power is the weakest. However, over a decade ago, the Western Continent wasn't at its current level. Yin Xiao muttered to himself for a moment before continuing. "Over a decade ago, a single person had killed all the powerful cultivators in the Western Continent, including the Continent Lord, causing them to lag behind the Western Continent by 100 years. Yin Luofeng raised his eyebrows slightly. "Who is that person?" "Ji Jiuqian." "Ji Jiuqian?" Yin Luofeng was a little shocked. Ji Jiuqian had single-handedly challenged all the cultivators in the Western Continent. Does he actually have this kind of power? Chapter 1285. Yin Xiao, who is stronger between you and Ji Jiuqian? Yin Luofeng asked after a moment of silence. Last night, Yin Xiao paused for a moment and said, "He and I didn't use our true abilities. We only fought with our bare hands. So, I'm not clear about his strength." Hand-to-hand combat. The corner of Yin Luofeng's mouth twitched. No matter how strong Ji Jiuqian was, he chose to fight Yin Xiao hand-to-hand. Wasn't this equivalent to admitting defeat? Yin Xiao had stayed in the forest of no return for 7 years, and he had long tempered a body of strength. If Ji Jiuqian didn't use his spiritual energy, he wouldn't be his match. As for last night, when Yin Xiao claimed that the two of them fought to a draw, it was most likely because he could not figure out Ji Jiuqian's strength. So he said that, "Yin Xiao, do you know who Ji Jiuqian is? Not only is he the ancestor of the Ji clan, he is also the dean of the West Continent Academy. Then he is definitely not just in his 20s. Yin Zhao's fingers lightly stroke Yin Luofeng's beautiful hair. He and Bai Su are the same kind of people. However, he's also different from Bai Su. Bai Su will harm you, but he won't. Logically speaking, he should have treated Ji Jiutian as a love rival after seeing how special Ji Jiutian was to Yin Luofeng. However, he didn't do so. Instead, he put in a good word for him in front of Yin Luofeng. Yin Luofeng held Yin Zhao's hand tightly. Yin Xiao, you don't oppose Ji Jiutian? Why are you speaking up for him? Yin Xiao lowered his eyelids. Hence, Yin Luofeng was unable to clearly see what kind of emotions existed in those deep and serene eyes. He can protect you. Yin Xiao, Feng if I'm by your side, protecting you is my responsibility. Even if I have to risk my life, I won't let you encounter any danger. Yin Xiao slightly raised her eyes, her slender fingers gently stroking the young girl's fine black hair. If there comes a day when I'm no longer around, then I hope that there will be someone else by your side to protect you. I don't want you to be in any danger, and I don't want you to die on this continent. The man's voice was very firm, so firm that Yin Luofeng's heart suddenly tightened. If I'm still alive, then protecting you for the rest of your life is my responsibility. If I'm gone, I naturally hope that someone can protect you on my behalf. That person was Ji Jiutian. As a man, if he wasn't by his wife's side and let another man protect her instead, he would definitely lose his dignity as a man. But to Yin Xiao, a man's dignity couldn't compare to hers. For her, he could put down his identity as a ghost emperor and give up all his pride. He was willing to serve by her side and take care of everything for her. In that case, was there anything he couldn't do? As long as she was alive, it was better than anything. Yin Xiao. Yin Luofeng suppressed the trembling in his heart and fiercely pressed his lips against Yin Zhao's. The words that escaped her lips were still trembling. In this life, only you are allowed to exist by my side. If you're gone, then I'll go to the ends of the earth. I will definitely find you. The girl's voice was extremely domineering. If you dare to leave me behind and go to hell, then I'll kill my way to hell and drag you out. Don't even think of leaving my side. Even the yellow springs of hell cannot stop me. No matter where you go, I will kill my way there and drag you out. If heaven obstructs me, I will defy it. If God obstructs me, I will kill God. If anyone obstructs me, I will turn this world upside down. Yin Xiao tightly hugged the girl's body and deepened the kiss. After a long time, he finally released his lips and stared at the girl in his arms with a resolute and serious gaze. Chapter 1286. You don't need to pull me. Even if I have to go to the 18th level of hell, I will crawl out myself to see you. After saying this, he kissed the girl's lips once again. The sheets on their bodies slowly fell to the ground. Within the curtains, only the two bodies could be seen entwined together. Finally, the girl turned over and pressed down on the man's body. Her fine black hair fell down, creating a unique scene. East Courtyard. All the elders had gathered and were discussing something. But at this moment, a handsome man and a beautiful woman walked in hand. When they saw the two people walking in, their eyes lit up. Disciple, why are you here? Ling Hai rushed forward excitedly. He looked at this disciple of his, liking him more and more. Yin Luofeng smiled, his gaze sweeping across all the elders present. I'm here to say goodbye. Goodbye? Ling Hai frowned. What, you're leaving? That's right, I still have something to do. Also, Yin Luofeng paused, then said apologetically, Teachers, I have to confess something. All the elders looked at each other, then looked at Yin Luofeng with puzzled eyes. Actually, I came to West Continent Academy and became your disciple because I have my own goals. Yin Luofeng's expression was full of apology. Initially, I sensed the existence of the fruit of the soul in this academy. That's why I wanted to come here. Fruit of the soul? All the elders were astonished. What's the fruit of the soul? They had stayed in this academy for so long, yet they still did not know where the fruit of the soul was. Yin Luofeng smiled. The fruit of the soul was hidden in the academy by Ji Jiutian. Before he left, he had already brought it to me. But, after all, my goals in becoming your disciples were not pure. I'm sorry. These people really treated her as a disciple. For her, they did not hesitate to fall out with the West Continent elders. No matter what, she had to make things clear. At the same time, she was prepared to be scolded by all the elders. No matter who took in a disciple who was satisfied, if they found out that this disciple had ulterior motives, they would be bitterly disappointed. As expected, after hearing his words, all the elders fell silent, causing the entire east courtyard to be filled with a silent atmosphere. Yin Xiao seemed to be afraid that Yin Luofeng would be nervous, so she gently squeezed her hand, allowing her power to pass in her body. Logically speaking, with Yin Luofeng's talent and her relationship with Ji Jiutian, there was no need for her to explain it to the elders. There was no need for her to be as nervous as she was now. But she still came over to explain her purpose. Moreover, her expression did not change, but her heart was filled with nervousness, and her palms were unknowingly covered with sweat. Even though she had faced many experts over the years, she had never been as nervous as she was now. Suddenly, a chuckle came from the east courtyard and broke the silence. Shuang covered her mouth and chuckled. I was wondering what was the matter. So it's just a small matter. Speaking of which, I still have to thank the soul fruit. If not for it, how would I have the opportunity to accept such an outstanding disciple? Yin Luofeng was stunned. He asked in disbelief, "You're not angry?" "Angry?" Ling Hai glared at Yin Luofeng. "Why should we be angry? Are we angry that you didn't tell us this earlier? If you had told us earlier, I would have turned the entire West Continent Academy upside down to find the soul fruit." These people's gazes were not fake. They were also not so tolerant towards Yin Luofeng because of their respect for Ji Jiutian. Chapter 12:87. They really weren't angered by this matter. If they were angry, it would be Yin Luofeng who did not tell them about this earlier. In this way, they could still help her. Yin Luofeng's heart was filled with gratitude. A smile appeared on her beautiful face. During the time that Ji Jiutian is not around, if the Academy encounters any danger, spread the news. As long as I hear it, I will rush back to help. Whether it was to repay Ji Jiutian for helping her, or for these masters who had treated her as their disciple, she would not be stingy with her help. Disciple, Su Kong smiled. With your talent, it won't be long before you become famous in the mainland. When that time comes, as your masters, we will also be proud. So, you don't have to feel sorry for what happened before. Just as Shuang said, we should be grateful for the fruit of the soul. Otherwise, how could we have received such an outstanding disciple like you? Su Kong was afraid that Yin Luofeng would blame herself for her previous deception. Hence, he repeated Shui Ying's words. I understand. Yin Luofeng cupped her fists. Masters, take care. Yin Xiao, let's go. Saying so, she looked at the elders one last time, turned around and walked out. Before she left, the atmosphere in the elders' court became quiet once again. Ling Hai secretly wiped the corners of his eyes. Su Kong glanced at him, walked over, patted his shoulder, and said, "Can't bear to part with your disciple. In my entire life, this is the first time I have received such an outstanding disciple. Do you think I can bear to part with her?" Ling Hai glared at Su Kong, his expression full of grievance. Her path is very long. We cannot limit her footsteps. As long as we are fated, we will definitely meet again in the future. Shuang smiled. She did not feel too sad. After all, they were on the same mainland, and there would definitely be a chance to meet again in the future. What's wrong with all of you? Why are all of you crying? An unclear voice sounded from outside the elders' court. Soon after, an old man slowly walked into the room. Our disciples are about to leave the academy. Ling Hai is sad about the separation. That's right, Extraordinary, why are you back? Shui Ying raised her eyebrows, looked at Extraordinary who had appeared at the door, and asked. Extraordinary was a little confused. What do you mean? Disciples of yours? All of you accepted a disciple at the same time? Who is so lucky to be chosen by you at the same time? Shuang smiled slightly and said, This is our good fortune to be able to accept such an outstanding disciple. Back then, when my disciple was taking the test, the spiritual energy in her body showed no signs of stopping. Because of this, we took a fancy to her talent, and because Su Kong and the others were also fighting to be her master, in the end, we unanimously decided to accept her as a disciple. Wait, Extraordinary scratched his head and frowned. I seem to remember that you promised me that the next genius would be my disciple. Really? Ling Hai, who was originally sad about the parting, immediately regained his senses when he heard this. He looked at the people beside him suspiciously. Which one of you said that? Why don't I remember? Su Kong and the others looked at the sky, pretending to have lost their memories. I don't remember either. I don't think I said something like that. Shuang, did you say it? I didn't either. I don't remember saying that at all. Extraordinary, you're thinking too much. None of us said anything like that. Chapter 1288. It's enough for my precious disciple to have 5 masters. No more, absolutely no more. Extraordinary, don't even think about her. Extraordinary was so angry that his face turned the color of a pig's liver. These old fellows were really shameless. Not only did they snatch away his disciple when he was not around, they even refused to acknowledge it. I don't care if you remember or not. Anyway, that genius is my disciple. You must give up your position. You can't be so treacherous. How can we get along in the future? Su Kong coughed dryly. Ling Hai, Shuang, it's getting late. Let's go. Yes, it's getting late. Let's go. After saying this, the old men pretended not to see Fifan and walked out of the courtyard, leaving Fifan, who was livid with anger. You shameless old fellows, I want to cut off all ties with you. Extraordinary's roar resounded in the air above the entire Elder's Court. Unfortunately, no one responded for a long time. At the academy, Yin Luofeng and Yin Xiao walked side by side on the long lawn. The people around them all looked at them. Their eyes were filled with admiration. They did not know about Jiotian's appearance. They only knew that Yin Luofeng had crippled the disciple of the West Courtyard's elder. In the end, the West Courtyard's elder brought people to settle the score with her, but was captured by the duties hall. For her sake, the 2 elders had even shed all pretenses of cordiality. Which disciple in the academy could cause such a stir? It seemed that ever since Yin Luofeng had come to the West Continent Academy, the academy had never been peaceful again. Yin Luofeng. Suddenly, a hurried voice rang out from behind her, causing Yin Luofeng to stop in her tracks. She turned around and saw Hu Li, who was drenched in sweat, walking quickly towards her. He was slightly out of breath. Yin Luofeng, are you leaving the academy? It has to be said that Hu Li's feeling was right. Yin Luofeng was indeed planning to leave the West Continent Academy. Yes. Yin Luofeng nodded and replied. Hu Li's lips curled into a smile. If you're leaving the West Continent Academy, I will go with you. Don't forget, I've already sold myself to you for 10 years. In these 10 years, I will not leave your side and protect you. Yin Luofeng raised her brows and turned to look at Yin Xiao. Only after seeing Yin Xiao nod at her did she look straight at Hu Li. Yin Xiao and I have too many enemies. If you follow us, you will encounter danger. Are you sure you want to follow me from now on? Actually, I was just telling you about the wager that day. I didn't really want you to pledge your loyalty to me. Hu Li's smile was enchanting and charming. I've never taken back what I've promised. What's more, I'm someone who has walked through the edge of a knife. Why would I be afraid of danger? If you're sure you're not afraid of the danger, I can let you follow me. I'm not afraid. Hu Li's eyes were full of flirtatiousness. Yin Luofeng, where do you plan to go next? Yin Luofeng and Yin Xiao looked at each other before looking at Hu Li. There's no definite place to go. We'll take it one step at a time. Their goal was the soul fruit. She would go wherever there was a soul fruit. Since that's the case, if you don't mind, I'd like to return home first. All right. Yin Luofeng was silent for a moment. Then I will follow you back. You're leaving now? That's right. Where's your son? Hu Li did not seem to notice that Xiao Mo was following behind Yin Luofeng and asked in surprise. Chapter 1289. Of course, Yin Luofeng would not tell him that little Mo had already gone to the divine grimoire space. So, she said, he went to his wife's place. Indeed, Xiaobai was lying in the divine grimoire space. Now, that little Mo was waiting for her. Did that not mean that he had gone to his wife's place? Master, In the divine grimoire space, little Mo heard Yin Luofeng's words and shouted rather plaintively, "Xiao Bai and I are innocent. Why did you come here to put us together?" Yin Luofeng lowered his eyes and smiled faintly. "When I first met Yin Xiao, you often talked about dual cultivation in my ear." Little Mo was speechless. "All right, just pretend that he had not said anything. Can't I keep quiet? In any case, I will never marry." "Oh no, I will never marry Lin Ruobai. What kind of world is this?" Yin Luofeng, who was about to continue teasing little Mo, heard Hu Li wail. "Even a little brat like your son has a wife. I am still single. I can only spend the rest of my life with Miss Five Fingers." Hu Li's expression was very sad as she said aggrievedly. Yin Luofeng curled his lips into a smile. "You seem to only need to beckon, and there will be a lot of women coming to you." Yin Xiao seemed to be a little jealous that Yin Luofeng and Hu Li were talking so much. He hugged Yin Luofeng's waist tightly and glanced at Hu Li with warning eyes. Hu Li did not notice the man's warning eyes at all and continued, "I have no interest in those vulgar women. You talk too much." As soon as he finished speaking, a low and cold voice suddenly sounded, causing Hu Li to shiver from the bottom of his heart. Yin Luofeng's man was really a big vinegar jar. Yet, only Yin Luofeng could subdue this kind of man. "I will say one last thing," Hu Li pouted aggrievedly. "Yin Luofeng, the first genius on the heaven list, is looking for you, saying that he wants to duel with you. Not interested." Yin Luofeng threw down this sentence with a deadpan expression. As if already knowing her choice, Hu Li smiled. "The first person on the heaven list is a real lunatic. As long as she took a fancy to someone, she would keep pestering you until you fought her. In any case, everyone in the academy would take a detour when they saw her. However, they were obviously thinking too much. That madman was only willing to fight with those who were strong. You'd better not let her see it. Otherwise, she'll definitely torture you to battle with her." The genius ranked first on the heaven list was considered a legend in the Western Continent Academy. She had broken through to become a saint ruler in her early 20s, and her outstanding talent had caused all the elders in the academy to fight for her. However, the arrogant her refused to acknowledge any elder as her master. In her life, only fighting was the most carefree thing. At that moment, Yin Luofeng still didn't know that in the near future, she would finally meet the number one genius on the heaven roll. Moreover, he occupied a very important position in her life. Some people, from strangers to acquaintances, and then to acquaintances, only needed a process. This process was war. At this time, Yin Luofeng didn't know that after getting to know her, that genius had sacrificed more than his entire life. Furthermore, it was life. If she dares to come. The man's voice was low. She could try. Hu Li's mouth twitched. How could she forget about this man? With this man beside Yin Luofeng, she probably would not be able to get close to Yin Luofeng. "Let's go." Yin Luofeng shrugged, turned around, and said. Chapter 1290. At the entrance of the courtyard, the guards had just respectfully sent Yin Luofeng and the others off when they felt a gust of wind behind them. By the time they reacted, a gust of wind had blown past, accompanied by a fiery red dress. It almost sent them flying to the ground. That person rushed to the entrance and frowned as she looked in the direction that Yin Luofeng and the others had left. She pondered for a moment, then turned to look at the two dumbfounded guards. "Have you seen Yin Luofeng?" The woman's red dress was brighter than blood. She raised her chin and looked down from above. When the two guards saw who it was, they swallowed hard, and their legs trembled. She has already left." Whoosh! As soon as she finished speaking, the fiery red dress had already disappeared. There was only the sound of a gentle breeze at the entrance of the courtyard. This sound indicated that what they had just seen was not a dream. Why is she looking for Yin Luofeng? One of the guards felt his heart tremble violently. Could it be that this crazy woman is looking for someone to challenge again? "I feel that whoever she fancies will be very miserable." A look of sympathy appeared in the other guard's eyes. "Whoever this crazy woman fancies will be hunted down by her. She's like a grasshopper, sticking to you and refusing to let go, until you are willing to fight with her. Of course, you cannot defeat her. If you can defeat her, then from then on, she will endlessly chase after you and endlessly challenge you. This lunatic, the reason why her strength had improved so quickly was definitely related to her tenacious and shameless character. She remembered that when she had just entered the academy, she had started to challenge disciples on the earth list and climbed up the sky list step by step. Originally, when she first challenged the former number one on the sky list, she had been defeated. She had lost terribly and had to recuperate for half a year to recover from her injuries. However, her injuries had just healed, so she continued to challenge again. She was defeated again and again, but the more she fought, the braver she became. In the end, her ability finally surpassed the former number one on the sky list and replaced her. It was also after that time that everyone in the academy was terrified of her. In this academy, she was completely isolated and had no friends or confidants. On top of that, she had an arrogant personality and never paid attention to those who were weaker than her. However, ever since she climbed to the top of the heaven leaderboard, she never challenged anyone again. The biggest reason was that those people were too weak, so she did not take them seriously. Now, the person who made her regain her confidence in challenging was Yun Luophone. If she did not fight with Yun Luophone, she would not rest. Tell me, can anyone afford to provoke such a lunatic? Should we tell the elders about this? The two guards glanced at each other. In the end, they still went to report this matter to the elders to prevent Yun Luophone from being entangled by this madman. When Huli stopped at the city gate of Luohua City, Yun Luophone and Yun Xiao also stopped. She looked at the somewhat uneasy Hu Li and raised her eyebrows slightly. "You're not going in?" A hint of struggle flashed in Hu Li's eyes. "My family is a medical family, but I'm not interested in medicine. 3 years ago, my father wanted to force me to learn medicine. I was unwilling and he planned to force me. In a fit of anger, I left the family and haven't returned for 3 years. After my brother found out that I was in the West Continent Academy, he also came to the academy. However, in these 3 years, he was afraid of making me unhappy, so he didn't tell me about what happened to my family, so I don't know if my father has forgiven me." Chapter 1291. Huli felt remorseful when he thought of what had happened in the past. How could he not miss home in the past 3 years? However, he had an unrestrained personality and did not want to be tied down by his father. Moreover, he felt guilty towards his father, so he had not returned for 3 years. Now that he was at his doorstep, he did not know how to step in. Yin Luophone patted Hu Li's shoulder. "Since you're back, let's go take a look." "Okay." Hu Li's eyes gradually regained their calm. He took a deep breath and stepped into the city gate. He did not know if it was an illusion, but he felt that when the people on the street saw him, their eyes first flashed with shock, then immediately filled with sympathy. Hu Li's heart skipped a beat, and he quickened his pace to rush back to his family. After not returning for 3 years, his family had already changed a lot. The courtyard was no longer the bustling city it used to be. The 2 stone lions by the door had also been taken away, and the steps were covered with red cloth. It was festive yet unfamiliar. Then, when Hu Li raised his head, he found that the once ordinary Hu characters had also become inlaid with gold. Everything was completely different from when he had left. Hu Li took a deep breath and calmed the anxiety in his heart. He walked forward and gently knocked on the door. Not long after, the door was opened and a sneaky little boy stuck his head out. "You, Hu Tao, why are you in my house?" Hu Li's pair of fox-like eyes widened in shock as he stared at the little boy who had appeared at the door. Hu Tao was the son of his second uncle's family. Second uncle and his father had never been on good terms. So why was his second uncle at the Hu family's house? Bang! Hu Tao was also stunned when he saw Hu Li. With a loud bang, he smashed the door hard and refused to let Hu Li in. At this moment, Hu Li recalled the looks he had seen from the people on the street, and his handsome face instantly darkened. "Hu Tao, open the door. This is my house. I'm not opening it." Hu Tao's proud voice came from inside the door. Bang! Hu Li lifted his leg and kicked the door open. With just one kick, he sent the door flying. Hu Tao's small face turned pale, perhaps because he was frightened by Hu Li's actions. He looked at Hu Li in horror as he walked through the door. Hu Li's handsome face was livid as he strode in. He grabbed Hu Tao's clothes and asked coldly, "Where's my father? Where did my brother go? Why did my Hu clan become your people?" Some time ago, Hu Lin had already returned to the Hu family. That was why Hu Li had asked him where his big brother was. "Let me go." Hu Tao struggled hard in Hu Li's hands. "Some time ago, when your father was treating someone, he caused the person to die. He paid a large sum of money to someone else and even borrowed a lot of money from my father. He used this house to pay off his debts." Hu Tao was young, but every word that came out of his mouth was sharp. "Hu Li, you ran away from home and haven't returned for 3 years. What right do you have to question me? You piece of trash, hit him." Bang! Hu Li raised his hand and flung Hu Tao to the ground. He clenched his fists so tightly that his knuckles cracked and the veins on his forehead bulged. "Tell me, where's my father now?" Hu Tao burst into tears. "He's in the slums in the west of the city." "Boo-hoo, you bullied me. I'm going to tell my dad and ask him to kill your whole family. If you say one more word, I'll strangle you to death right now." Sure enough, Hu Tao fell silent when he heard Hu Li's threat. His eyes turned red, and he did not dare to say another word. He did not even dare to cry out loud. Chapter 1292. Hu Li turned around with a pale face. He looked at Yin Luofeng and said, "I'm going to settle some personal matters. Wait for me here. Let's go together." Yin Luofeng glanced at Hu Li and said, "Okay." Hu Li nodded and strode out of the courtyard, quickly looking in the direction of the slums. The Hu family used to be a famous family here, especially Hu Li's father, who was known as a famous doctor of his generation. There were countless people who had been cured by him. Therefore, Hu Li only needed to ask, and he would be able to get the most accurate direction of his father. At this moment, in a house in the slums, an old man walked out with the help of a man. The old man's hair was white, his face was old, and his face was full of wrinkles, like a chrysanthemum. If Yin Luofeng was here, he would definitely recognize that the person supporting the old man was Hu Lin, whom he had defeated in his first challenge. "Big brother, you finally come out." The middle-aged man sneered at the old man, his lips curling into a sarcastic arc. "When are you going to pay me back for what you owe me? Hu Yowu, don't think that I don't know that you deliberately framed my father. Back then, in order to fight for the power of the Hu family, you schemed to drive my father out of the family. My father no longer fought for a single cent and came out to establish his own family. Now that you saw that his medical skills were excellent and he had some authority in Luo Hua City, you harbored hatred in your heart and schemed again, causing my father to have an accident when he was treating a patient so that he could borrow money from you." Hu Lin gritted his teeth in anger and glared fiercely at Hu Yowu. Hu Yowu sneered, his lips curling into a sarcastic smile. "It's your father's medical skills that were not good enough, and he killed someone. What does that have to do with me? His medical skills were originally half-baked and useless. He can't be compared to me." "You?" Hu Lin clenched his fists tightly. "My brother is now very famous. When he comes back, he will definitely avenge my father. When that time comes, you will definitely die miserably." "Ha ha ha!" Hu Yu laughed out loud. "Are you talking about that Hu Li who ran away from home for 3 years? TSK. If she was really doing so well in the academy, how could she not have returned for 3 years? From what I can see, he is clearly doing too badly, yet you still dare to brag that he has broken through to the Saint King realm, and he even entered the heaven roll? What a joke. Even my, Hu Yowu's, son doesn't have this ability. What right does Hu Li have to enter the heaven roll?" Hu Li's current strength was that of Saint King. Although he was no longer considered a low-level existence in the continent, he was not so strong that he could not be stronger. Of course, the prerequisite was to ignore his age. After all, Hu Li was already a Saint King at the age of 25. In the entire Western continent, perhaps only those people from the Western Continent Academy had such strength. More importantly, there was probably no one who did not know what the Western Continent Academy's heaven list represented. Once he entered the heavenly ranking, he would definitely attract the attention of the elders in the academy, and would even be taken in as a disciple by those elders. At that time, wouldn't it be equivalent to the power of the Western Continent Academy being used by him? If Hu Li had really reached the heaven list, he would not have dared to do so. Unfortunately, Hu Li had been missing for 3 years. If he had really made a name for himself, wouldn't he have come back to show off? How could he not return for 3 years? This was also the reason why Hu Youwu did not take Hu Li seriously. Who did you say has been missing for 3 years? Just as Hu Youwu was mocking him, a gloomy voice came from behind him. Chapter 1293. Hu Lin's body shook. He raised his head and looked at Hu Li, who was slowly walking towards him. His heart filled with joy, and he hurriedly exclaimed, "Second brother, you're back? Ah, Yin Luofeng, why are you here as well?" That day, after his battle with Yin Luofeng, Hu Lin had rushed back to Luohua City due to an urgent matter. He had not even gone to watch their subsequent battle. Now that he thought about it, he had left in such a hurry probably because of this unforeseen event. Because of this, he could not understand why Yin Luofeng would stand together with Hu Li. "I'll tell you about this later." Hu Li raised the corners of his lips, and an enchanting smile appeared on his handsome face. However, his fox-like eyes were still filled with gloominess and murderous intent. "I was the one who told you to get lost. It's better if you get lost yourself." Hu Youwu's eyes sank, and he sneered, "I'm only here to collect the debt, not to settle it with you. Similarly, I'm not such a heartless person. On account of your reunion as father and son today, I'll give you one more day. If you don't repay the debt by tomorrow, don't blame me for disregarding our brotherhood. Let's go." He fiercely flung his sleeves and led the group of people towards the back. "Father!" Hu Li stared at the old man in front of him. He could not believe his eyes, and his eyes began to sting. In 3 years, his father, who had been in the prime of his life, had become unbearably old and had 1 foot in the grave. However, he was not even 50 years old. One could imagine what kind of life he had led during this period of time. "You unfilial son, who allowed you to come back." The old man's elderly face sank as he fiercely hit his walking stick and berated him sternly. "Father, how did you become like this?" Hu Li trembled as she reached out to touch her father's head of white hair. In the end, she weakly put her hand down. "Brother, why didn't you tell me about these things?" The family had undergone such a great change, yet he had never known about it. He had been living a carefree life in the academy. Hu Lin looked at the old man next to him and said, "It was father who didn't want me to tell you. He felt that it wasn't easy for you to have the life you have now and didn't want these things to disturb you. That's why I didn't tell you." "Stop." The old man stomped his walking stick again and turned around. His old body seemed a little weak. "There's no need to talk about these things anymore. Bring your friend in and have a seat." The moment the old man turned around, he secretly lifted his sleeve and wiped a tear from the corner of his eye. "Second brother, why is Yin Luofeng here?" Hu Lin frowned. Clearly, he was still unhappy that Yin Luofeng had defeated him. Hu Li was speechless. "I lost to her and pledged my loyalty to her for 10 years. This time, I left the academy with her and came back to visit my father." Hu Lin was shocked, but he also understood that this wasn't the time to talk about such things. He looked away from Yin Luofeng and turned to Hu Li. "Actually, after you left that year, father also regretted it. He felt that he shouldn't have forced you to do something you didn't like, but you know his personality. He's too stubborn and will never admit his mistakes. In these 3 years, because of Hu Youwu's suppression, father's life has been getting worse with each passing year, but he never allowed me to tell you. He was afraid that it would distract you. He didn't want to be a stumbling block for you." Looking at his stooped father, Hu Li's heart ached even more. Suddenly, he knelt on the ground with a bang and shouted, "Father, I was wrong." Chapter 1294. The old man's body trembled, and he slowly turned around. At this moment, he could no longer hold back his tears. "Lear, it's good that you're back." Hu Li's head was buried in the ground. He had missed too much in the past 3 years. Even his father had become so old and was no longer as spirited as before. But no matter how much he suffered, he had to bear it alone. Even though he knew that he was doing well in the academy, he did not want to disturb him. Yin Luofeng and Yun Xiao stood silently behind Hu Li. No one made a sound to disturb him. They knew that at this moment, Hu Li needed to vent the guilt and pain in his heart. "Get up," The old man leaned on his walking stick and walked in front of Hu Li to help him up. The father and son put aside their previous enmity and cried in each other's arms. "Lear, are these two your friends?" The old man wiped the tears from the corner of his eyes and looked at Yun Luofeng and Yun Xiao. Hu Li nodded. "Her name is Yun Luofeng. She comes from the Western Continent Academy, like me, and is the disciple of the Academy's 5 elders. As for this young master, he is Yun Luofeng's father, Yun Xiao. I lost to Yun Luofeng in a battle and will serve her for 10 years. This time, I left the Western Continent Academy to embark on another journey with her." The old man's eyes showed gratitude. "Actually, I already knew that Hu Li does not like to be too restrained. He is unrestrained and loves freedom. The Western Continent Academy is only a place for him to stay. He was afraid that I would not be able to find him, so he stayed in the academy. Now, because of your appearance, he has regained the confidence to chase after his dreams. This old man should thank the two of you." Yin Luofeng did not speak. Her eyes swept over the old man's leg, and she asked in a low voice, "Is there a problem with your leg?" The old man smiled bitterly and nodded. "Previously, when I was saving someone, I accidentally treated him and he died. This leg was broken by them. Originally, with my medical skills, I had a 50% chance of restoring it, but unfortunately, I lost all my money to the deceased family and even owed a lot of debts. I can't even afford the medicine, which led to bone necrosis. It's impossible for me to stand up again. Father, I have money. I can buy medicine for you." Hu Li stood up from the ground and took out his spatial ring. He placed all his belongings in the old man's hand. "Hurry up and buy the medicine." The old man shook his head. "If it was a few days ago when my leg was broken, I would still have a 50% chance. Now, I don't even have a 10% chance." Hu Li's head drooped as he gripped the spatial ring in his hand tightly. His heart wrenched violently. If he had been in Fallen Blossom City during those few days, he would never have let anyone bully his father like that. If he had never left the family, his father would not have encountered such a thing. All of this was his fault. Hu Li hammered his head fiercely, wanting to smash his head with all his might. "Little brother." Hu Lin was shocked. He rushed forward and grabbed Hu Li's hand. "What are you doing? No one is blaming you. Besides, it was father who told me not to say it. It has nothing to do with you. Let me go." Hu Li struggled out of Hu Lin's grasp. Just as Hu Lin was about to continue grabbing onto Hu Li, a cold voice came from the side. "Let him go. If he wants to smash, let him. If he wants to die, I'll send him on his way." Hearing this, Hu Lin turned his head angrily. "Yin Luofeng, what do you mean by that?" Chapter 1295. What do I mean? Yin Luofeng's lips curled into a sinister smile. Hu Li knows very well what I mean. At a time like this, instead of thinking about how to help your father, you're torturing yourself first. Your father is already in so much pain. Do you want him to suffer even more for you? Hu Li's hand slowly drooped. His handsome face turned increasingly pale and ashamed. "Hu Li, I had asked you to follow me not because of your evasive personality." Yun Luofeng's black eyes were domineering and insolent. "I lack people who dare to take responsibility for their actions by my side. So, you should be thinking about how to avenge your father, not how to punish yourself." Hu Li smiled bitterly and said, "You're right. Now is not the time for me to punish myself. I must first deal with the person who hurt my father, then I can continue to apologize to my father." Yun Luofeng's words were indeed a little heartless, but there was nothing wrong with them. They were like a hammer that smashed into Hu Li's heart, calming him down. When he saw the calm and reflective Hu Li, Yin Luofeng shifted his gaze to the old man's crippled right leg. "Your leg, it's not that there's no way to treat it." The old man's body stiffened. After a long pause, he shook his head. "I'm a doctor myself. I know the injury to my leg very well. There's no way to treat it. If I say that you can be saved, then you can be saved." Yin Luofeng raised his brows. "Hu Li, go buy some medicinal herbs for me." "All right." Hu Li had unconditional trust in Yin Luofeng. Since he said that his father could be saved, then there must be a way. After a while, Yin Luofeng wrote down the medicinal herbs he needed on a piece of paper and handed it to Hu Li. After receiving the prescription, Hu Li quickly rushed toward the medicine shop in Luohua City. There was a commotion in the medicine shop. Hu Li had just rushed over when he bumped into someone he did not want to see. That person was also shocked when he saw Hu Li. He then laughed icily. Hu Li, my father had just said that you've returned, but I did not believe him. I never thought that you would really return. Could it be that you can no longer stay in the West Continent Academy? So you've returned to Luohua City? Hu Li's expression turned cold. Get lost. Have you grown a temper after staying outside for so long? When you were in Luohua City, you didn't dare to talk to me like this. The young man hugged the woman with both hands and walked over with his belly protruding. His face was pale and his steps were unsteady. It was obvious that he had overindulged in his lust. Even if I can't survive in the Western Continent Academy, I can still kill you with one hand. Hu Li snorted. 3 years ago, I didn't do anything to you because my father didn't allow me to. Later on, I even dared to resist his orders. Could it be that I still don't dare to touch you now? Shockingly, the young man before him was Hu Youwu's eldest son, Hu Tao's elder brother. This fellow had always been against him in Luohua City, but his father did not allow him to stir up trouble outside. Hence, no matter how many times he was provoked, he gritted his teeth and endured it. Now that his father had been harmed so miserably, how could he continue to endure? Hu Li, your father killed someone, and his reputation has already been ruined. You still dare to go out? Aren't you afraid that the family of the deceased will come looking for you? While talking to Hu Li, the young man could not help but reach out and pinch the buttocks of the woman beside him. The woman cried out in pain and looked at the young man shyly. Young master, you're hurting me. Chapter 1296. Haha. The young man laughed and laughed vulgarly in the woman's ear. Wait until tonight. I will make you feel even more pain. The woman lowered her head shyly. When the young man did not see her, a trace of disdain flashed across her eyes. Just him? He still wants to make me feel pain? Perhaps even a toothpick would be more powerful than him. If it was not for the fact that Hu Rui was more generous and the fact that the Hu family was also an aristocratic family in Luohua City, she would not even bother to comply with him. When Hu Li saw Hu Rui making such a wretched gesture in front of him, a trace of disgust flashed across his eyes and his voice became colder. Get lost. When he said this, an imposing aura suddenly burst out. Hu Rui did not know what was going on, but his body suddenly flew out and crashed into the crowd with a bang. Hu Li brushed his sleeves and walked in with large strides. He threw the prescription on the table and said coldly, "Take out these medicinal ingredients." The shopkeeper looked up at him indifferently. "I'm sorry, the shop does not have the medicinal ingredients you want." Hu Li had not returned for 3 years, and everyone said that he was worse than a dog. Looking at his poor appearance, he could not afford to buy medicinal ingredients. Moreover, even if he could afford it, in order not to offend the Hu family, he would not sell it to him. Are you sure you don't have it? Hu Li narrowed his eyes slightly and threatened coldly. Go, 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 the shopkeeper said impatiently. Hurry up and leave. I already said we don't have these medicinal ingredients. Just as he finished speaking, he felt a chill on his neck, causing him to shiver. His eyes swept down slightly. When he saw the sword on his neck, his face turned pale and his voice trembled. Young Master Hu Li, I was just joking. Hu Li sneered. Take out the medicinal ingredients, or I will kill you immediately. A kind person would be bullied. A kind dog would be ridden by others. Only when one is evil would others fear him. At this moment, Hu Li deeply understood this point. 3 years ago, he was in Luohua City. Even though his father was chased out of the Hu family, his reputation was still flourishing. Who in the entire Luohua City did not give him face. Now that his reputation had fallen, these people turned their backs on him. Then why should he be polite to them? The shopkeeper trembled as he grabbed the medicinal herbs that Hu Li needed from the medicine cabinet. One by one, he wrapped them in yellow paper and carefully handed them to Hu Li. At this moment, his hands were trembling. The medicinal herb you wanted. Hu Li raised her eyebrows and asked, How much silver? No, I don't want silver. How could he still dare to ask Hu Li for money? Being able to stay alive was already good enough. Hu Li looked coldly at the shopkeeper and casually threw down a pool of silver. I'm not the kind of person who takes things from others without giving them money. I'll give you the silver. In the future, I won't come to your medicine store anymore. With that, Hu Li turned around and left. At this moment, there was a commotion in the crowd. Hu Li had just stepped out of the medicine shop when a group of people surrounded him. Those people were dressed in mourning clothes, and their faces were full of grief. When they saw Hu Li at the door of the medicine shop, their grief turned into anger. Bastard of the Hu clan, pay with your life. Your father killed my son. I want you to pay with your life. A middle-aged man angrily pounced on Hu Li. His hand was wrapped in a layer of spiritual power, and he wanted to hit the top of Hu Li's head. Before he could reach Hu Li, he was shaken away by the aura of Hu Li's body. Ouch! The middle-aged man fell to the ground and cried bitterly. This bastard's father killed my son. I want him to pay with his life, but he still wants to hit me. You guys judge, is there still law in this world? Chapter 1297. Hu Li's eyes became colder and colder as he looked at the middle-aged man who was crying on the ground. During this period of time, everyone in Luo Hua City knew about the changes that had happened to Hu Li's family. Therefore, when they heard the middle-aged man's words, they could not help but criticize him. This doctor who is too much. He treated someone to death, and he still has the nerve to call himself a doctor. TSK. It's true that the Hu family is a medical family, but the Hu family has always been controlled by Hu Youwu. I guess Hu Wenwu's medical skills are not good, so the Hu family did not use him. The Hu Wenwu that this man was talking about was Hu Li's father. Hu Li sneered as he looked at the middle-aged man who was crying bitterly. A hint of viciousness flashed in his eyes. He had not had the time to ask who had been killed by his father. Now that he saw this man, he felt that this matter was definitely not that simple. The man in front of him was the person who had almost become his father-in-law. He had been engaged to this man's daughter since he was young. Even though he did not like that woman, he intended to abide by the marriage contract for his father's orders. However, this woman had slept with another man and was even pregnant with a child. She actually wanted him to be the scapegoat. In a fit of anger, he returned the marriage and denied that the child was his. In the end, the child's biological father stood up and acknowledged the child. In desperation, the woman could only marry the child's biological father. Unfortunately, the child's biological father did not cherish her after he got her. He often punched and kicked her and used violence. Originally, the woman wanted to go back to the family to complain, but the man used the child to threaten her. She could only swallow all the bitter consequences. It was not until the woman committed suicide in despair that the matter was revealed. This also caused the crying man in front of him to hate him to the bone. He believed that his daughter's tragic ending was caused by him. Therefore, Hu Li was very suspicious that this farce of a doctor dying was deliberately set up by this man. Hu Li, you brat, you have to pay with your life for my son's death. The middle-aged man stood up again and angrily pounced on Hu Li. This time, Hu Li did not resist and was grabbed by the collar. He lowered his eyes and spoke sinisterly into the middle-aged man's ear. If you don't want people to know, then don't do it. If I find out that you and Hu Youwu plotted against my father, then I'll make sure your two families turn into hell. The middle-aged man's body trembled as panic flashed across his eyes. It was also at this moment that Hu Li had already left his hand. Dressed in a peach blossom robe, she quickly floated forward and disappeared from his sight. The man swallowed hard and his face darkened. He secretly gritted his teeth and cursed in his heart. Hu Li, you little bastard, you want to go against me? You're still too inexperienced. You killed my daughter, so I won't let you off. Even though the middle-aged man had killed the murderer who had abused his daughter, he still believed that Hu Li was at fault in this matter. He looked coldly in the direction where Hu Li had disappeared. After pondering for a while, he walked towards the Hu family, Hu residence. Hu Youwu sat in the main hall, sipping his tea. At this time, a servant came to report that Ouyang Qianran had come to pay a visit. Let him in. Hu Youwu was slightly startled and said. The servant acknowledged the order and retreated. After a while, a middle-aged man in mourning clothes walked in from outside the courtyard. When Ouyang Qianran saw the mourning clothes, he waved his hand and said, Ouyang Qianran, Why did you come dressed like this? Chapter 1298. Why did you come dressed like this? Hu Youwu frowned and asked in disdain. Ouyang Qianran chuckled and walked in front of Hu Youwu. Master Hu, I came dressed like this because I went to surround Hu Li. All right, Master Hu, when are we going to attack Hu Li and his son? Ouyang Qianran, do you hate Hu Li and his son that much? Hu Youwu's eyes flickered as he asked with a smile. A vicious light flashed across Ouyang Qianran's eyes when he heard this. How can I not hate them? If it wasn't for Hu Li, my daughter would not have died. I will never forget this enmity for the rest of my life. The smile on Hu Youwu's face deepened. The person who caused your daughter's death was not Hu Li. You seem to have forgotten this. Ouyang Qianran immediately became agitated when he heard this. How could it not be him? He was the one who caused my daughter's death. If he had been willing to marry my daughter back then, my daughter would not have married that bastard. He is the main culprit behind my daughter's death. I will never forgive him. At this moment, Ouyang Qianran seemed to have forgotten that it was his daughter who had colluded with someone else and became pregnant with a child. Yet, Hu Li had to take the blame. If his daughter had not been too debauched, how would she have ended up like this? Based on Hu Li's personality, it was even more impossible for him to help raise someone else's child. However, Ouyang Qianran had never thought about his daughter's mistakes and pushed all the blame onto Hu Li. If Hu Li had not rejected the marriage, his daughter would not have died so tragically. All right, how did your son go? A light flashed across Hu Li's eyes. In my opinion, he should be killed to prevent any news from leaking out. Ouyang Qianran's face stiffened and he laughed dryly. Master Hu, although I have more sons, they're all my flesh and blood. How could I bear to kill him? Furthermore, I have already sent him away. No news will leak out. Don't worry. How can a woman's benevolence achieve great things? Hu Youwu sneered and looked at Ouyang Qianran with disdain. Hu family head, I've come here with another request. Ouyang Qianran's eyes flashed. Even though I've already squeezed Hu and Wu drive his wealth, I'm still not satisfied. I want Hu Li to fall into my hands and then bury him with my daughter. Is it because he doesn't want to marry my daughter? Then I'll let them be the husband and wife underground. Just as Hu Youwu was about to speak, a commotion came from outside the courtyard. His face darkened and he shouted sternly, Who is it? Gigi. A mouse squeaked and a white figure quickly flew into the distance, disappearing from his line of sight. When he saw the gold-seeking rat in the distance, Hu Youwu's heart finally calmed down. So it's the gold-seeking rat. This spirit beast doesn't pose any threat, so there's no need to fear it. Spirit beasts could only speak the human language when they reached the venerable spirit beast level. A low-level creature like the gold-seeking rat would never be able to become a venerable spiritualist. Why would need to care about them? Master Hu, my suggestion just now. Ouyang Qianran hesitated for a moment before he continued to ask. I agree to your suggestion. Ouyang Qianran stood up and said calmly, I only want to defeat this father and son trio. As for how to deal with Hu Li, it's up to you. He did not take Hu Li seriously at all. His words had already determined his fate. Chapter 1299. Just as he had said, if Hu Li was really doing well, how could he not have returned for 3 years? It must be because he did not make a name for himself that he did not have the face to return. As for Hu Lin's claim that he had entered the Academy's Heavens list, that was the biggest joke in the world. How could he, Hu Li, enter the Heavens list? Hu Lin must have made it up so that his brother would not be too disgraced. Ouyang Qianran, remember to hide your son well. If I find out that your son ruined my plan, I will definitely kill your entire family. Hu Youwu made a gesture of slitting his throat as a sinister light flashed in his eyes. Ouyang Qianran's heart trembled when he saw Hu Youwu's action. He subconsciously wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. Master Hu, don't worry. No one knows where I hid my son. It won't be ruined because of him. I hope so. Hu Youwu sneered and did not waste any more time talking to Ouyang Qianran. He got someone to send him away. In the slums, inside the house, Hu Lin, who was waiting anxiously, hurried forward to welcome his brother when he saw him return. Second brother, how was it? Did anyone cause trouble for you? Hu Li shook his head and handed the medicinal herbs to Yun Luofeng. He then turned to look at the old man. "Father, tell me what happened. Did you treat Ouyang, Qianran's son?" The old man's body trembled. Under Hu Li's questioning gaze, he nodded helplessly. "It's indeed his son. His son only had a fever. I gave him a normal fever, but who knew that he would die inexplicably?" Hearing this, Hu Lin was furious. It must have been Hu Youwu's doing. He framed father. When Ouyang Qianran's son died, he came looking for me and said that he wanted to lend me money. Father was helpless and could only lend him money. Hu Li did not answer Hu Lin's question. He looked straight at the old man. "Why did you treat Ouyang Qianran's son?" The old man smiled bitterly. "A doctor is benevolent. As a doctor, how can I refuse a patient? But I never thought that this would happen. Father, don't you think that they are not working together?" The more Hu Li thought about it, the more likely it was. There must be some conspiracy behind the two of them getting together. That's impossible. No matter what, Ouyang Qianran wouldn't use his own son's life to exact revenge on us. The old man shook his head. His son is already dead. This can't be done by him. It must be Hu Youwu. Hu Li smiled coldly. In her heart, she had already determined that this matter had something to do with Ouyang Qianran. Right at this moment, a gold-seeking rat scuttled in from outside the door. Then, under everyone's gaze, it gradually turned into a young man in white. Everyone in the room was scared silly as they looked at the young man who had appeared out of thin air. Milk Tea didn't look at anyone else as she reported to Yin Luofeng. "Master, I followed your orders and followed Hu Youwu. Guess what I heard in the end?" Milk Tea looked a little excited. "It turns out that the patient who was killed didn't die. Instead, he was moved out." "What?" The old man and Hu Lin were shocked at the same time. They didn't have time to be surprised by Milk Tea's identity. "Impossible." The old man shook his head. "I clearly sensed that the little boy was no longer breathing. How could he not be dead?" Chapter 1300. "That was impossible." Hu Li sneered. "Father, don't forget that Hu Youwu also has medical skills and inherited most of the Hu family's ancient books. He must have a way to make people not notice that the little guy is not dead." The old man's body trembled and he fell into a chair. In addition to practicing medicine for the sake of the people, he also pitied the child who was still suffering from a high fever. Because he felt guilty towards the Ouyang family, he did not even accept the consultation fee. Who knew that his good intentions would be exchanged for a wolf's ambition? "Father, I've already said that this matter has something to do with Ouyang Qianran, but you didn't believe me." Hu Li was a little angry. At the thought of Ouyang Qianran and Hu Youwu joining forces to murder his father, his heart was filled with monstrous anger, and he could not wait to rush over and kill all of them. However, Hu Li, who understood his father, knew that his father valued his reputation very much. How could he ruin his father's reputation because of his own selfishness? "Brother, let's go find those people and settle the score." Hu Lin gritted his teeth, his eyes bursting with hatred. "No!" Hu Li had already calmed down. "I have to find Ouyang Qianran's son first to prove father's innocence. I can't let father's reputation be destroyed, and I won't let evil people get away with it." Yin Luofeng, who had been silent since just now, said after hearing Hu Li's words, "I'll send someone to find him for you." "Thank you." Hu Li's eyes were filled with gratitude. Actually, Yin Luofeng could have ignored this matter, but she chose to find someone for him. He could not help but be moved by this. Yin Luofeng glanced at Hu Li. "Don't forget, you have to leave this place with me. I don't want to waste too much time here, so I'll send someone to find someone for you. Otherwise, with your own strength, I'm afraid it will take a long time." "Then how do you plan to find someone?" Hu Li asked aloud. Yin Luofeng pondered for a moment, then looked up at the old man. "Do you have anything that Ouyang Qianran's son used?" "Yes." The old man trembled as he walked to the side, took out a piece of white cloth, and then walked towards Yin Luofeng. "This is what Ouyang Qianran's son used to wipe his mouth when he was coughing. He left it with me at the time. I don't know if it's useful." "Yes, as long as it's something he used, it's useful." Yin Luofeng took the white cloth and handed it to the milk tea. "Remember this smell, then go find Ouyang Qianran's son." Milk Tea's nose had always been very sensitive. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been called the gold-seeking mouse. In this world, There was nothing the gold-seeking mice couldn't find. Milk Tea sniffed the white cloth and memorized the smell in her heart. She vowed solemnly, "Master, wait for me here. I will find the person for you soon." After saying this, Milk Tea quickly walked out of the door and disappeared from everyone's sight in the blink of an eye. Yin Luofeng picked up the herbs in his hands and turned to Hu Li. "Do you know how to brew medicine?" Hu Li was stunned for a moment before he nodded and said, "Yes. Boil these herbs into soup and let your father drink it. Then apply the medicinal dregs on his leg. In less than 3 days, he will recover." Hu Li was stunned. He looked at Yin Luofeng in disbelief and asked in a doubtful voice, "You're saying that these herbs can cure my father's leg?" He knew his father's medical skills better than anyone else, but an illness that even his father could not cure. Could Yin Luofeng do it? "If you believe me, then do it. If you don't believe me, then pretend that I didn't say anything." Yin Luofeng raised an eyebrow and said calmly. Chapter 1301. Hu Li looked at Yin Luofeng hesitantly, but in the end, he still accepted the medicinal ingredients. He turned his head and looked at the old man standing in front of him, saying, "Father, wait here for me for a moment. I'll go brew the medicine." He then turned around and left. "You too." The old man's gaze fell upon Yin Luofeng and Hu Li. "If you don't mind, you can rest here tonight." Yin Luofeng nodded gently. For cultivators, even a sleepless night would not hinder them. The next day, dawn. A clamor could be heard coming from outside the slums. The man was arrogant and domineering. "Hu Wenwu, Hu Li, how's the preparation of your money? If you still can't repay the debt, you can only use your lives as compensation." Creak. The dilapidated old wooden door was pushed open by an old hand. Immediately, the old man walked out with the help of the Hu Li brothers. The walking stick in his hand fell heavily on the ground, like a hammer to the hearts of the crowd. "Hu Wenwu, you know very well what you've done." The old man's voice was hoarse and dry, extremely unpleasant to the ear. His dignified eyes stared coldly at the man standing in front of him, and his elderly face was cold and detached. Hu Wenwu burst into laughter. "What have I done? Why didn't I know? On the other hand, everyone in Luo Hua Adult City knows that you've treated a patient to death. Your reputation has been ruined, and no one can help you." As soon as he finished speaking, Hu Wenwu waved his hand, and a piece of paper appeared in his hand. The bright red handprint was clearly visible on this piece of paper. "You've borrowed a total of 10 million taels of silver from me. I wonder when you'll be able to return this money to me?" The corners of his lips curled into a sarcastic angle as he stared at Hu Wenwu with disdain. "Hu Wenwu, when you were chased out of the Hu family, you should have kept your place and lived a peaceful life. However, you couldn't let go of your reputation and continued to treat patients. Aren't you forcing me to take action? You've single-handedly caused your current situation, and it has nothing to do with anyone else." The old man pointed angrily at his younger brother as his elderly body trembled. When he had found out the truth yesterday and recalled Hu Wenwu's face, he felt the urge to give him a tight slap. Hua! At this moment, a strong gust of wind blew past. Hu Wenwu did not hold onto the paper tightly, and it was swept into the void by the wind. Hu Wenwu was greatly alarmed. Just as he was about to leap up and grab the promissory note suddenly flew forward and landed in a large hand. The man's black robe fluttered in the wind, and his face was cold and expressionless. His black eyes were incomparably deep, so dark that it was impossible to see through his inner emotions. After snatching the IOU, the man handed it to the white-clothed girl beside him. Then the white-clothed girl raised her hand and tore it. The promissory note immediately turned into pieces in her hand and fluttered down. "Since you said that Hu Wenwu owes you a debt, you should take out the promissory note. If you don't even have a promissory note, what right do you have to demand for a debt?" The young girl raised her eyebrows slightly. Her demonic black eyes stared at the pale Hu Wenwu as she asked casually. At that moment, there were already many people on the street. When they heard Yin Luofeng's words, they were instantly dumbfounded. "IOU? Didn't she just tear it apart? She actually dared to ask for an IOU? Could she not be so shameless?" Hu Wenwu gritted his teeth. "Miss, do Do you think that I won't be able to do anything to this father and son trio just because you've torn up my promissory note? When the time comes, I'll stick the promissory note together in Chapter 1302. Oh, the girl raised her eyebrows, and the smile in her eyes deepened. Is that so? How about this? Whoosh! In the air, the pieces of paper that had just fallen suddenly burst into flames. Under the flames, the lone note was burned to ashes. Huyowu felt as if he had been punched in the heart, causing his anger to rise spontaneously. He glared at Yun Luofeng with eyes full of murderous intent. Miss, you better not meddle in other people's business. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite. Yun Luofeng's body leaned lazily on the man's body. He looked relaxed and content, and his smile was extremely beautiful. I'm sorry. I'm really going to meddle in this matter. It's a fact that Hu Wenwu owes me money. Everyone in Luo Hua City can testify. Hu Youwu's eyes darkened, and he said coldly, he won't go back on his word. Yun Luofeng's lips curled up. Then I'd like to ask, how did he owe you money? Humph, that goes without saying. It's because he treated a patient to death that caused the patient to demand compensation. He had no choice but to borrow money from me. Seeing that he's my elder brother, I lent him 10 million taels of silver. Hu Youwu snorted. He can forget about reneging on this debt. If Yun Luofeng narrowed his eyes. The patient he treated didn't die. The patient didn't die. The crowd was in an uproar. They looked at Yun Luofeng as if they were looking at an idiot. Even Hu Wenwu himself had concluded that the child of the Ouyang family couldn't be saved. Then how could he not die? At this moment, no one realized that after Yun Luofeng finished speaking, a flash of panic flashed in Hu Youwu's eyes. He suppressed the nervousness in his heart and took a deep breath. What nonsense are you talking about? He's clearly dead. Hu Wenwu can prove it himself. Could it be that you want to say that the Ouyang family deliberately blackmailed you? With this, he had already cleared his name. Even if the matter failed in the end, it was Ouyang Qianran's problem. It had nothing to do with him. It's about time. Yun Luofeng's gaze drifted to a place not far away. He should be back. Early this morning, Milk Tea had used her soul to inform him that she had found the young master of the Ouyang clan. She was currently rushing over and was about to enter Luo Hua City. Li, Yun Luofeng turned towards Li. Bring Ouyang Qianran to me. Next, I'm going to show everyone a good show. Li understood what Yun Luofeng wanted to do. He nodded and quickly headed towards the east side of the street. Not long after, Ouyang Qianran was carried in his hands, and he strode over. Li, you little bastard, your father killed my son, and you still dare to attack me? You will definitely die a horrible death. Shut up. Li punched Ouyang Qianran in the eye. In an instant, one of his eyes turned jet black. He glared angrily at Li as if he wanted to dismember him. When she arrived in front of Yun Luofeng, Li threw him to the ground. A cold light flashed in her pair of fox eyes, her face expressionless. Ouyang Qianran. Yun Luofeng stood on his tiptoes and stroked his chin with his fingers. He looked down at him with a smile. I wonder if you'd like to watch a good show. Ouyang Qianran crawled up from the ground angrily. Who do you think you are? How dare you speak to me like that? Li's eyes turned cold. Just as he was about to attack Ouyang Qianran again, a black figure had already flashed in front of him like a gust of wind. The figure raised its leg and sent him flying with a kick. Chapter 1303. In that instant, Ouyang Qianran's body flew tens of meters away. Under everyone's gaze, he landed heavily on the ground. Everyone was stunned. They stared in shock at the cold and handsome man and could not help but gulp. Although the Ouyang family was not as powerful as the Hu family, Ouyang Qianran was not weak. However, this man did not use much strength to kick him so far away. Especially, Ouyang Qianran had suffered serious injuries from this kick. He spat out blood and almost spat out all his organs. He's almost here. Yun Luofeng raised the corners of his lips, his evil eyes filled with a cold light. Ouyang Qianran, I wonder if you still want to see your youngest son. Ouyang Qianran's body trembled, his face instantly turning pale. What do you mean? I don't understand. It's okay if you don't understand now. You'll understand soon enough. Just as Ouyang Qianran was still confused, the young man's voice suddenly rang out from behind him. Master, I found the person you wanted me to find. Hearing this clear voice, everyone on the street turned to look at the young man. The young man's figure was thin, and his white robe covered his thin body. His handsome and fair face was still young and inexperienced, but his bright smile made his entire body look like it was filled with sunshine. But what caught everyone's attention was the little fatty in the young man's hand. The little fatty's mouth was dripping with saliva, and he looked stupid. When he saw Ouyang Qianran lying on the ground, he burst into tears. Father! Ouyang Qianran's expression completely changed. His eyes were filled with fear, and his body could not help but tremble violently. The little fatty's cry was like a stone that had been dropped into a calm lake, causing a huge uproar. Isn't that Ouyang Qianran's dead son? Why isn't he dead? That's not right. This kid looks a little stupid. He's not as quick-witted as he used to be. Back then, because this kid was already dead, Ouyang Qianran asked Huan Wu for compensation and broke his leg. Now, who can tell me what happened? Ouyang Qianran's eyes had already turned from the initial fear to despair. He had clearly hidden his son very well. So how could he have been found? At the same time, Hu Youwu's expression was also very ugly. He fiercely glared at Ouyang Qianran as a trace of anger flashed across his eyes. He had long since told him to get rid of this brat to avoid trouble, but Ouyang Qianran did not have the heart to do so. Otherwise, how could such a scene occur? Was this the good show that the woman in white mentioned? I believe that all of you have seen it for yourselves. Hu Li was the first to react. He sneered. Ouyang Qianran's son is not dead at all. He had framed my father. How could he use such a despicable method? He's worse than a beast. At this moment, the noisy crowd once again erupted into an even more intense discussion. The shock in everyone's eyes was replaced by mockery, and countless accusations and curses flew towards Ouyang Qianran. Ouyang Qianran is truly sinister. His son is not dead at all, yet he actually said that his son is already dead. This is clearly a deliberate attempt to extort Doctor Who.